to Earth. Have you seen the symbols in sleep or in your mind's eye?
Usually in my sleep. And that first time that it happened was in that hotel. I do not remember getting out of bed and walking into the bathroom with a pen in my hotel room sheet and doing that. I literally woke up standing there after I had finished.
Have the symbols been repeated in addition to the squares and the vertical lines?
Yeah, I've seen them again in a dream.
Can you describe that dream?
Yeah, it's dark all the way around, and they're being scrolled past from right to left. They're slightly illuminated, like a light blue color.
Are you getting any impression of what they are saying in your dream?
Something Council of Five, I believe.
Council of Five, and what are they saying?
It's more of a warning, preparation for something, an alert of what may come, or what could come, or what is soon to come, or something to that effect. And they're doing what they can to try to help us. They're almost to the point where they're outnumbered, and we're going to need to assist and get to where we need to be sooner in order to be able to stand a chance.
Did you see any humanoids of any shape or size or type in any of your dreams?
Yes, ma'am.
Which type?
Skin similar to ours, however, grayish in color, elongated heads, larger sockets for eyes, larger eyes. In the dream that I was seeing, there was one about where my feet would be, and I could see expressions on his face as a little bit of worry, but was trying to keep me calm.
Did you get the telepathic impressions of warning there aren't enough of us, there's more of them, something is going to happen that's going to be a big problem, and that these beings have been trying to help and now they can't because they don't have enough numbers versus what is there?
Similar, perhaps, but I think it's more along the lines of what we're doing that's going to harm us, such as sending signals out into space is not a safe thing to do, that we have technology that we need to expand on, but it's being kept from everyone behind locked doors or closed doors, and only to certain individuals or something to that effect, and allow all minds to come together to get things done a little bit quicker.
Or what is going to happen?
Whatever's going to happen might negatively affect us. I don't know what that might be, though.
And if there is a warning or an alert, that would imply that something is coming that may be harmful.
I don't know. I know it's something that will affect us here on Earth.
Battery low.
And technology and how we're progressing is together to get things done a little bit quicker.
Or what is going to happen?
Whatever's going to happen might negatively affect us. I don't know what that might be, though.
And if there is a warning or an alert, that would imply that something is coming that may be harmful.
I don't know. I know it's something that will affect us here on Earth. I know that at our current advancement in technology and how we're progressing is happening too slow. And the way to fix that is opening up and allowing everyone here who is kept in the dark or not being told the information. We need to allow outside minds in order to solve the issues that we're having to increase our advancement in technology and speed up our process for advancement.
If that doesn't happen, what bad could happen?
I really don't have an answer for that.
About the Council of Five, Sergeant CJ told me he had never heard about it outside of the dream. When you Google ET or Alien Council of Five, this is one of the websites that comes up that lists 5 alleged alien races that include, all caps, EMERTHER, Emerther. The website Alien Axioms describes the Emerther as, quote, one of the founder races of the Council of Five, ancient and more advanced on many levels than most cosmic intelligences. Allegedly, it was the emerther that wanted to meet with, or did meet with, American President Dwight Eisenhower to perhaps discuss atomic bomb tests. The emerther warned humans that atomic bombs must be stopped because the nuclear blasts were tearing into other dimensions. The website states, without giving sources, quote, "Very little is known about the 5 alien races that make up the Council of Five. These 5 races have been protecting Earth and humans for a long time, and they last met together on this planet in 1944, close quote. I asked Sergeant CJ why he thought advanced intelligences would be communicating with Earth humans in binary code. And he replied, quote, "Well, maybe it's like the yin and yang symbol of black and white. So zeros and ones can be used all over the universe to communicate," close quote. On Earth, this is what standard ASCII 8-bit binary code looks like. It starts with the number 0, which is equivalent to the 8 characters 0011 space 0000. Capital letters are different from lowercase letters. Punctuations such as periods and commas each have their own 8-bit code designators. I had Sergeant CJ's squares and ones translated. Here is the first page showing how letters and words emerge in ASCII binary code. Continuous protection of humanity. 49 degrees, 27 minutes north. 11 degrees, 5 minutes east. Expose hidden knowledge to all caps. Citizens, advancement imperative for planetary survival. Beware of Orion 1350.3 and Z Reticuli 39.1 question mark. The question mark is from the translator. Then the number 70, avoid, and the bracket signal was an interpretation by the translator. It said, avoid messages sent. Now here is the whole translation for all of the squares and lines. Sergeant CJ wrote on the back of that Motel 6 letter-size receipt in Paducah, Kentucky. Continuous protection of humanity, 49 degrees, 27 minutes north, 11 degrees, 5 minutes east. Expose hidden knowledge to all citizens. Advancement imperative for planetary survival. Beware of Orion 1350.3 and Z Reticuli 39.1, question mark 70. Avoid messages sent. And now we know the numbers 1350.3 and 39.1 question mark 70 do have a match in the distance from the Earth to the Orion Nebula, which is 1,350 light years from Earth, and to the binary star system of Zeta Reticuli, that is 39.17 light years from Earth. Earlier references to Zeta Reticuli 1 first turned up in the 1961 Betty and Barney Hill abduction in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. That was the first worldwide reported human abduction by gray alien beings. Betty Hill said one of the gray entities showed her a 3-dimensional hologram of stars that had connecting lines that the gray telepathically downloaded into Betty's mind were trade routes connecting some star systems in our arm of the Milky Way galaxy. Instead of solid lines, some stars were connected by dash lines. The gray being telepathed to Betty that those were exploration routes and that our sun and solar system were being explored. The last line, avoid messages sent, seems to relate to Sergeant CJ's dream information about the danger of Earth sending out SETI signals without knowing who is on the other end. That same warning came in 2015 from Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and physicist Stephen Hawking about both SETI and relying too much on artificial intelligence. Let's go back to the first line that says, continuous protection of humanity, 49 degrees 27 minutes north and 11 degrees 5 minutes east. If that latitude and longitude are supposed to be a location on Earth where ETs from the Council of Five are supposed to be protecting humans, how odd that it turns out to be town center of Nuremberg, Germany. Nuremberg was a significant city for the Nazis in World War II, and the location of the international war crime trials after the war ended. But Nuremberg was also famous more than 400 years ago in 1561, when immense black cylinders appeared in an early dawn sky and released many strange, smaller blue, black, red, and orange spheres, rods, and crosses. Many people watched the aerial machines clash in battle above a great black spear that remained stationary for the entire hour-long conflict. Some UFOs crashed and burned. You can see it in the lower right of this famous woodcut by German artist Hans Glaser. So who in that aerial UFO battle might have been protecting humanity, as stated in the Sergeant CJ binary code, quote, continuous protection of humanity, close quote. What could the battle be about? Now let's go deeper into binary code messages by comparing Sergeant CJ's string of zeros and ones to Sergeant Jim Peniston's back on December 26, 1980. That was the night that Sergeant Peniston, with Airman First Class John Burroughs and Airman Ed Kavansack, were ordered into Rendlesham Forest, England, to investigate strange colored lights moving around in the tall forest on civilian land that ran along RAF Bentwater's Woodbridge. That was then NATO's largest airbase. This is a page 1 of the binary code written down by Sergeant Peniston after he touched the raised symbols on the surface of a mysterious black glassy triangular craft on the forest ground. The red vertical lines mark off the groups of 8 zeros and ones to match against the ASCII code translation for letters and numbers. At the right is the summary translation, and this is now Sergeant Peniston in 1980. Exploration of humanity, unclear. Then numbers, and then the number 8100. This is page 2 of Peniston's binary code that translates to a latitude and longitude, and in all caps the word continuous. Page 3 translates in all caps for planetary advance. Fourth coordinate continuous, CEPR question mark. We don't know what that is. The word before. And then page 5, Peniston binary code. After the word before, Peniston's writing stops. End of transmission. After those first 5 pages of code were translated, Peniston then released one more batch of zeros and ones. This is Peniston's personally approved and official release of his binary code translation that adds 6 latitude and longitude coordinates for Caracol, Belize, Sedona, Arizona, the Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt, the Nazca Lines of Peru, Taishan Q, China, where the green symbols were on that UFO, the Temple of Apollo in Naxos, Greece. And then came these words, eyes of your eyes, in all caps. And then a repeat of the controversial latitude-longitude that some interpret as being High Brazil, mythical off the western coast of Ireland, or Woodbridge, England. And in the last line, the number 8100 is repeated as, all caps, origin year 8100. If you subtract Earth year 1980 from 8100, you get 6,120 years, perhaps in the future, for the time travelers. But Peniston, in hypnosis, said that he was telepath, that they were from 40,000 years in our future. But it can also be argued that the time travelers from a distant future were not referring to Earth-based 365-day-year cycles of time. It is also important to understand that Sergeant Peniston did not have any decimal placements in his string of zeros and ones in his notebook. So each latitude and longitude could be any one of 24 possibilities, according to an astronomer, Mike Reed, who did the original binary translations. For example, in the second line, latitude and longitude, when a decimal was tried in a different position than the high Brazil option, it precisely matched the town center of Woodbridge, not far from the air base and Rendlesham Forest. The scientists felt strongly the Woodbridge option made more sense because the black triangle craft, if it's a time travel device, it would likely be emitting a continuous stream of location information to whoever sent the black triangle to Rendlesham Forest. Astronomer Reed thought that land options were more logical than oceans. But the Ancient Aliens producers preferred the mythical ocean idea of High Brazil, since it fit with their Ancient Aliens theme. High Brazil was supposed to be an ancient island west of Ireland that only appeared once every 7 years. Adding to its mystery were the tales of people in boats who tried to reach the island, but they never could. However, astronomer Mike Reed argued that the Woodbridge Town Center was so close to where the black glassy triangular craft and its symbols were telepathically sending the binary code into Sergeant Peniston's mind that Town Center Woodbridge made sense to him. Let's now compare Sergeant CJ's first June 30th, 2016 binary translation on the top with Sergeant Peniston's first binary release from his December 26, 1980 encounter. The words that stand out as similar are continuous, humanity, advanced planetary survival. Another warning about planetary survival came in this binary code discovered in a wheat field next to Crabwood Copse in the village of Pitt near Winchester, Hampshire, England, on August 15, 2002. The gray alien head and binary code disk is in front of BBC Winchester's tall broadcast antenna, and those 60 thin horizontal lines are thought to simulate an early 20th century TV broadcast. The implication seemed to be that the crop formation was a reply to Earth TV signals. The start of the Crabwood August 15, 2002 binary spiral of code begins 0100 space 0010, which equals the capital letter B. The entire ASCII 8-bit translation of the Crabwood spiral binary code is: beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe misspelled. There is good out there. We oppose deception, all caps. Conduit closing, close quote. But was the warning from the alien depicted in the wheat holding the binary disk? Or was the warning about the alien in the wheat pattern? The 3 star-like objects on the alien shoulder resemble the famous Orion belt stars, so many people think there is a threat from something associated with the Orion constellation. Then, in early 2016, came a retired Navy whistleblower, William Mills Tompkins, who said that from World War II on, for several years, he worked building scale models of UFOs and learned that the United States government had extraterrestrial allies that protected humanity and Earth from marauding, bullying humanoid reptilians that originated in the constellations Orion and Draco. A similar message was repeated 13 years later on June 23, 2015, near the airport of Turin, Italy, also known as Torino. The city is where Jesus Christ's alleged burial shroud is kept. Geneticist Horace Drew, PhD, from Sydney, Australia, tackled these very difficult rings of binary code that included 128 small circles in straight lines between 16 triangular rays of the outermost ring. His binary translation of that outer ring is, "Beware ET bearing gifts." Dr. Drew said the Torino, Italy, June 23, 2015 summer solstice sweep pattern, quote, "It looks like a clock, where we have to rotate the inner wheel to match the outer wheel," close quote. Even though the inner ring binary code is not clear, Dr. Drew thinks some of it warns about a Trojan horse event coming to Earth. He wonders if the Trojan horse is an invasion attack by non-humans from Orion and Zeta Reticuli, warned about also in Sergeant CJ's binary code of June 30th, 2015. And that was only 7 days after the Torino, Italy warning. Sergeant CJ did receive more telepathic downloads coming into his head at night. He said the squares and lines came faster than before, so it was hard for him to write it all down. He also could see that some of the squares were darkened, and he managed to get some of the new communication written down, along with his comments about what was happening. From October 27th to the first week of January 2016, Sergeant CJ was waking up a lot, yelling. I talked with his wife, and she said he would wake her up talking loudly and was often saying a string of numbers. She told me near tears how much it scared her, and she wanted it to stop. Sergeant CJ said he was trying to concentrate on the dark shadings in the squares that he hadn't been able to copy before because the images moved too fast in his mind's eye, moving right to left. But finally, he thought that he was getting some of it in these new pages. Dr. Drew researched binary codes, and he found this one at thinkersmith.org that uses squares that are either clear or blackened to represent ones and zeros. Horace Drew applied it to Sergeant CJ's new pages. On the far left of this graphic, Dr. Drew's binary translations are in red letters going vertically down the page, next to matching binary code, spelling the first word, imminent. Imminent threat soon upon Earth's leaders and civilizations. Expose and disband hidden knowledge to all citizens. Employ safe and controlled joint study to all minds. Progression imperative for combined survival. Embrace this, and there was a space, vessel threat, and then the number 000, and then the word journey, followed by brackets around a 12, followed by LY, which on Earth, LY is used by astronomers to mean light year, 12 light years. And then Ikes, is that President Eisenhower? Ike's embedded citizens are ready, AISCLOSE, the word evolve, followed by 6 ones. We don't understand it, but that's the literal ASCII code. Then, Royal Emerther all caps. Warning, expose foreign technology to all evolutionary advancement needed to prevent takeover, bracket the number 3 and a single quote mark. In the last paragraph is that all caps word, Emerther, that on the web is associated with an alien council of 5. Then, on February 18, 2016, Sergeant CJ found that he had added 5 new lines of squares and lines without darkening any of them. Sergeant CJ emailed me, quote, "It was fast, and I was unsure if I drew them down correctly. It felt like it was not meant for me to write them, and I felt weird about it, like it was not clear enough for me. I just did the best I could, and I figured it was probably all messed up or wrong. They are the only ones I have had since I sent you photos of my notebook. I could not darken the boxes and lines because they were moving too fast, and I was having a hard time concentrating. There was much more to it, but I could not keep up concentrating," close quote. I sent them to Dr. Drew, and what he sent back was a surprise. There were 5 clumps of letters in 5 unknown words. Dr. Drew did know that the last 2 letters, Ki, originally meant earth in ancient Sumerian, and the letters and the words are Nabu Rakbu, capital H, Larak, Sanu, Ki. I sent the 5 words to Professor Joshua Jeffers, PhD, research specialist, Royal Inscriptions of the Neo-Assyrian Period Project at the University of Pennsylvania in the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, Babylonian Section, Philadelphia. Here is his March 24, 2016 reply. The first 2 words and the 4th word look to be Akkadian and not Sumerian. The first could be the god Nabu, but without the cuneiform, it is difficult to say since there is no divine classifier, as it's known, before the word Nabu. Well, what is Nabu? Nabu was one of the 3 most important gods in Sumeria. Nabu was the keeper of the tablets of destiny that recorded humanity's fate. He was son of Marduk and grandson of Enki Ea of the Anunnaki, Nabu's grandfather. Ea is the creator and protector of humanity because Ea created humans out of clay to be worker slaves for the Mesopotamian gods. But the supreme god Enlil was irritated by the noise that humans made, apparently because we aren't telepathic and we have to talk out loud. So Enlil wanted to destroy Ea's human slave creation with a devastating flood. But Ea realized what Enlil was up to and got a friend to build an ark so that humanity could escape God Enlil's act of annihilation. Professor Jeffers continues, quote, "The second word, rakbu, would be the noun rider from the verb rakabu, to ride, frequently meant upon a horse or chariot. The middle 3rd word could possibly be the word for the city of Larsa in southern Mesopotamia, today modern Iraq, written out phonetically. It should be Larag K without a doubled A, but the H is nonsensical for Sumerian and Akkadian and is puzzling. The 4th word, Sanu, could be an infinitive of the verb to do again, or a second time, or even to be different and strange. And the 5th word, Ki, by itself can be Sumerian and would mean earth or land." Close quote from the professor at the University of Pennsylvania. The precise meaning of the 5 Mesopotamian words remain unclear. Sergeant CJ is waiting to see if he has any more telepathic downloads that might explain more about these Sumerian and Akkadian words.
All right, everybody, welcome to part 2 of channeling. And is it aliens, is it spirits, is it what the fuck is this shit? And today's actually going to be about that topic, not back and forth a whole bunch of different topics. And going forward, I said I had a goal yesterday of finding out stuff about opiates and shit like that. And that's definitely one of my goals. The next goal that directly pertains to this, because this channel is not about how to start your opiatic system. So your opiate receptors are getting the regular natural opiate created by the body's endorphin system to work. However, I think this has lots to do with the brain, magic, your states, your emotions, and shit like that. And, if you can control this, well, then you can keep yourself happy all the time without drugs and antidepressants and the like. And, likewise, you can teach people who are addicted to shit to get off shit and stuff like that. So, but, once again, it's not what I'm out here to talk about today. And I'm going to show you off that, but my other goal, like I said, is going to be to stay on topic to topic, And if I bounce onto a topic, I'm going to keep a pad with me when I record, and I'm going to mark down the idea that I have and try to go back to the previous idea. And this way, I can stick to some kind of structure so that it's not so all over the place, because, there's often times I finish my episode, I listen back, and it's like, holy fuck, I never finished that point. Never got to that point. Sometimes, by the end of the episode, they get back to the point, but not always. And then on top of that, yesterday, I even made it worse by throwing the recordings on real fast, because my wife wanted to go out somewhere to eat for supper, and I went and had just one beer, not even finishing it, but, so we went out, and we went out, and, so I threw all my recordings on there, and put a picture on there of a moon spacecraft, and then I fucking left. And when I got back, I noticed that it's a 42 copy recording, because there are 2 recordings of 25 minutes each. So initially it was 1 recording that I split into to send it to my computer where I record. I recently fixed. I realized that it was at the bottom, and when I went to put it up, that part of the show had already passed by. So I then took the wrong recording and played the last 30 seconds of it, because it did not make any sense. It didn't make any sense anyways. But anyways, so I just want to apologize for that. That part was supposed to be around the part where I was talking about the woman who had the fake ascension symptoms. It's supposed to be after that segment, and then right after that segment, with my show structure, then it went right to talking about opiates and shit like that. And so the last part was supposed to tackle. Anyways, I can't really explain it. It's all fucked up. But anyways, I just want to apologize for that, and I am looking at fixing all that, restructuring it, potentially re-recording the whole episode, probably sometime this week, or just replaying it the way it was supposed to play to make more sense. But it's really, all the information's there. You can kind of figure out what's what. It's really an episode not about much, just be bouncing all around, and that's kind of why, today I'm going to try hard to stick to the same fucking topic, because that kind of shit pisses me off that I can't even stay on one subject. It's okay to have other subjects pop in your head and explore them a little bit as like a little sidebar, side tangent, whatever. But then whenever it's time to go back to the subject, instead of going back to the subject, I leap on to 4 more other subjects, and it's just it's too much. So I just wanted to apologize for my very much ADD episode yesterday, not hitting on what I titled the show, and even worse, fucking up the order of my recording. So my bad. I'll make it up. I'll put all the links in this new episode that I'm taping now for yesterday's episode and today's episode, since I had such a big title for yesterday and description. And I will also, try to find some books that are relevant to the show, and some even more other books. The last 2 episodes, I don't know if I put them on after, during, before, whenever, but I have a bunch of books on there for different things. If you haven't checked out those descriptions and books, make sure you do so. Obviously, they're all PDF form. But, reading's reading, and, you can save that to tablet, computer, iPod, iPhone, whatever you're listening on. And, if it's a new enough thing, you can actually have it read to you while you're doing shit. You don't have to actually sit down and read the book. If you have, an ink cartridge or money to buy an ink cartridge, you can print up the papers and read it like that, which is something I suggest if you have trouble reading off of a phone because of lights and sensitivities, and especially with all the energies coming into Earth lately, or wherever they're coming from, because, man, my car acts haywire, and I love my car, Sophia. I'm in it right now. I feel so much comfortable more recording in here. The more I record, though, in here, like I said, when I record, when I speak, when I do this, it's my channeling process. It's one of my main channeling processes. The other times I do it either in my kitchen or in my temple, or my altar, rather, and, those places are already kind of weird with energies and things flying around, like just before I left. There's no one near the fridge. I was near the stove, and they're pretty far apart from each other. And one of those late air fresheners just fucking flew off the fridge. And not just like fell as if there was a vibration because it was near the edge, which it wasn't. I mean, it was close to the edge, but not where it would have fell. Where it was, if it would have fell over, it should have landed and stayed on the fridge. But no, it went pretty far across the table. So, a lot of weird things happen like that lately. And, I could say that's, maybe that's my love and one spirit. But it's not. There's some energies around me. I'm the one bring these energies in. I'm the one aware of all this supernatural energies, entities. The more I listen to this alien shit, the more this shit happens too. If we should be told, and it's just what it is. There's no reason to be fear. Like, I go to lock my doors on the driver's side. I can't. It will never lock for me. I have to use actually the key thing to lock it, or my wife pushes the button and it locks. And when my wife's in the car without me, the doors are fine. But when I'm in the car, it's continuously locking and unlocking all by itself. Don't have to take my word for that. I don't care if you do or don't. It just is what it is. But anyway, so that's enough of a little intro. I'm going to have to get right into it right now. As you can hear, that's my seatbelt thing dinging because I don't believe wearing seatbelts. It's not really a belief. It's just, to me, putting on a seatbelt is just me identifying that, I don't trust my driving. I'm more likely to get an accident than I trust my driving. But the other side of the coin is I can trust my driving, but someone might hit me. But I tend to be aware and control my own reality to the point where I know I'm free from any danger on the road. So for me, I don't need a seatbelt on. But that's besides the point. So I hope everybody could or somehow saw what they needed from the last episode, and this one will be even more important. Funny, the seatbelt thing hasn't danged in a while since I said that. This is the kind of shit I'm talking about. And it normally goes every 30 seconds. We're looking at least almost a minute now. It hasn't made a beat. So that's pretty fucking cool if you ask me. And more proof of what I'm saying about the whole energy thing, guys. So if you didn't believe me, well, now you can believe me because I'm still fucking driving. This is me opening the window. There you go. You can hear the sound from the window now. Here I am. Here's the flicker of me turning into or on. Oh, now my window won't go back up. Oh, shit. Why'd I do that? Oh, there you heard that door lock. Hey, that wasn't me doing it either. Oh, and now she's dinging. Oh, that's only one ding though. What the fuck is going on? I love it. Anyway, paranormal activity right here live, everybody. Another one ding too. It's only goes ding, ding, ding. Everybody knows that. Anyway, so what's the pull my wife's work? Oh, there it is. Wow, that's like a 5-minute delay. That's fucking sick. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. ADD again. But I'm just trying to prove that I'm not lying about this shit. I got some magical energy around me, but I'm not going to take credit for it. That's the best way to get it stopped. You thank the spirits that are around you, that are doing this to you, for you, through you, and, you move on and you ask them for help. And this is how you stay humble. This is how you stay getting your powers. This is how your powers stay within you and how they keep working for you. So, yeah, don't ever take the credit for something you didn't do. Always give the credit to whoever deserves it, and they will keep doing it. They will keep impressing other people for you. They will keep impressing you, and you'll never have to worry about a goddamn thing. But the minute you think you are doing it, the minute you say, and you can say you're a god if you want. Not that I do, because I don't. I have to walk again. But you can say that, but don't take credit for things that you aren't doing as a god, or things that you might be, things that you know you didn't do, If you ask for something to happen and it happens, well, you could misconstrue that and think you did it, but, just thank whoever. And if you don't know who did it, just say thank you. And, even if it's not something else out there and that's not part of your belief, well, then I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, I'm going to start reading what I wrote and then expanding upon that and try to stick to the structure thing. So we're going to start going here in a few more moments there. It's going to do some of the supper for all my fucking children. But after that, I'm all fucking yours.
Alright, so Everybody, thank you for tuning in once again. I love the spikes I get on Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, and viewers listening. It's fucking sick. But anyways, what the fuck's going on? So, I already gave my introduction. Now, before I get into my notes, I want to read a few things that I wrote down. Some are recent, some not so recent. But they're all similar and have something to do with today. What am I going to be talking about today? So, first thing, and this is just random, but because my belief is that aliens, spirits, demons, angels, entities, deities, mythology such as Greek, Norse, Roman, the like, the Vikings, the fucking Tuan, Denada, all the different lores and spiritualities and different shit like that, okay? I can't say all because I don't think they all are similar from alien contact. And I don't want to make the assumption that I believe that aliens are the same as gods. However, there's a reason we refer to the planets as heavenly bodies, space. We look above us instinctively at the heavens for heaven. Now, whether or not space is heaven, if you believe in moon landings and shit like that, doesn't look like fucking heaven up there to me. So, but whereas it's probably more likely to be in your mind. However, Mesopotamia, Sumeria, Atlantean stories, and the Bible, all these old stories, creation stories, and whatever, different old fucking cuneiform, emerald tablets, all these different things, all the way to, after Christ, Renaissance, all these ages right up until today. I strongly think and believe that anybody getting channeled messages or messages from any being, whether it's an alien, whether it's energy, whether it's a dream, whether it's prophetic, whether it's Jesus Christ, the devil, Lucifer, Satan, doesn't matter. All these stem from the same place. So it's not necessarily that aliens are gods, but I think wherever these spiritual messages come from are all the same. And then the way it takes shape or form, whether the person says, I got a message from Jesus, or I got a message from an alien, or I got a message from Lucifer, or I got a message from Satan, that all depends on whatever that person learned. If they grew up Catholic, they're going to say it's Jesus or God, Moses, whoever, one of the motherfuckers from the Bible. If they grew up Satanic, Luciferian, and whether you think that is what you were taught it was growing up Christian, or if you believe what it actually is, doesn't matter. And it's going to come in a different form, like I previously said. If you are a scientist or involved in NASA and believe those things, then if you get a message, whether you're in the military or not, you might think it's from aliens. There's a lot of info out there claiming crop circles may not necessarily be from aliens, but from energies in the ground. And I'll go over that in a future episode. Point is, I'm not stating that the Bible, everybody in the Bible are aliens or higher life forms that people think are extraterrestrials or fly around in UFOs. But nonetheless, that's a possibility. But more likely, whatever these things are, aliens, gods, deities, superheroes, entities, forces, ghosts, spirits, ethereal, etheric, whatever, all these ways we have to define these beings. These are our way of putting a label on these things that we can't explain or understand. We don't know what the fuck they are, so we make up terms to explain it. And people buy into it, and sometimes generations go by and then everybody believes in the same fucking thing. Then all of a sudden, a new generation comes out saying something new. Sometimes they start getting killed, claim they're witches or whatever, burnt at the stake. But then it takes on and most people start believing and getting away from the old-fashioned form. But, it's just their new way of interpreting it that might be more beneficial than the old way. And, then that might get lost or stamped out or killed or murdered. But then, it comes back. You can never kill it or die. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the right way. It just might be a better way, easier way, or maybe a little more precise way than using someone else's opinion, such as the Bible. So anyways, this is something I wrote about the Bible, and it's not a very nice thing to say about the Bible, but I hope you just think about it with an open mind, since I'm reading shit that I wrote, channeled, whatever you want to call it. All right, so the Bible is a strange book. Old Testament is pretty dark, where the God in that Bible says he does both good and evil, which I actually like, by the way. I like that he actually makes a distinction. And to me, that's actually proof of balance, and not necessarily, because a lot of people think he's bad, a lot of people think he's all benevolent. And the fact that, in the Bible it says that he does both good and bad, did I not prove it did good and bad? Was it not me that killed those people? Was it not me that gave unto Solomon all the whatever? Anyways. He does both good and evil and proves it. He kills and he gives. He gives Solomon what he asked, and, Solomon asked to lead his people in the best, fair and just way. So basically wisdom is what he was kind of asking for. And because he didn't ask for money, riches, wisdom, women, long-lasting life, a big fucking castle, God said, okay, I'll give you what you want, which is wisdom, but I'll also give you women, long-lasting life, riches, and a big fucking castle, and I'll make you the best king for centuries. So that's what Solomon got. And, ceremonial magic is based on King Solomon, which is a character from the Bible, but not so much from the Bible writings. It's just not exactly what we use. But anyways, it's just an example of how God can give. He sends an angel down to give to Solomon. But then in other stories, he told, I forgive it, but he floods places. He's fled the whole fucking earth, killed everybody off, or, except for a few people, picking like one family and, two of each animal, and the rest are fucking dead. It's pretty harsh. He burns other places like Babylon, people turning into fucking pillars of fucking ash, basically. Shit like that. What else? And he tells his people to kill, rape, take over other places, have slaves, etc. So that's pretty harsh once again. And then in the New Testament, he sends Jesus, I guess, to help people choose and learn correctly, since they're far from, his love and grace, and, because Garden of Eden, he's speaking directly to man, and then from there, he banishes Adam and Eve, and so pissed off that he gives Eve harsh child labor and a bunch of other really nasty things. You gotta only read for yourself if you want to believe it. But goes from just talking directly to them, and then, Noah he talks to, Moses he talks to, but the further along you go in the Bible, he's only picking certain people to talk to, where you get to Jesus' time, and it's been a while since there's been a prophet or any fucking shits that God's talking to, so, pretty far away, so sends Jesus down. But apparently John the Baptist is, I think it's Isaiah or Jeremiah, I guess Isaac. Anyways, there's a prophet that was supposed to come before Jesus, according to the Bible, if you believe such things. And, apparently that John the Baptist was a reincarnation of that, and Jesus says that, and it proves it in the Dead Sea Scrolls and shit like that, blah, 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 blah. But anyways, so Jesus comes down, and he is basically an incarnation of God. Him and God are the same, apparently, but, in human form, and to teach and all that, and shit like that. So he comes down and he teaches that, no, the Old Testament God, that was okay for that time, but that's not how the Father is. My Father is your Father. He's all our fathers. He is me. And, he's forgiving. He loves you. And, I come down here to stop people from going to either purgatory, which actually purgatory was proven that was a concept created later on when they were trying to mix paganism or stamp out paganism and witchcraft and for Christianity to take over. But that was created fucking, I want to say either 800 AD or in the thousands AD. I forget the book I read it in, and, take that for what it is. I mean, just books tell you stuff, and we either believe it or we don't. So it is what it is. But, there are some actual evidence that says purgatory wasn't in the Bible, and you can read it for yourself. And then, the way you do that is you read the old versions that before the translations, or decipher them, translate them from Latin, Aramaic, or Hebrew into our language, and you'll see that there was no purgatory in the old words, and then they were redone to add those words in them in the newer version, starting from most of the time 1611 with the King James Version, when the letters J, V, and W were added to the alphabet. But prior to that, J, V, and W weren't even letters. I've already went over that. So anyways, but that's what Jesus came down for. And to prove that God is now a forgiving person, not the same as the Old Testament, well, he has to kill his son Jesus. And that proves that, see, I am forgiving. I forgive all you fuckers, but I got to kill my son to forgive all you fuckers. So that's what he does. He kills his son, so he forgives everybody. And now the gates of heaven are open because Jesus died, went to hell, and resurrected and went up to heaven. And that's how we know that God is a benevolent God. And, so the New Testament paints a pretty nice picture, because the Old Testament's pretty shitty. But Book of Revelation, you should give that bitch a read, because that's some dark shit, and it all depends on how you interpret it. But actually, it doesn't matter how you interpret it. Basically, end of times are going to come, which people keep saying are coming now, which is just bullshit, by the way. Another mistranslation. It's not the end of time, it's the end of the age of Pisces. Now we're in the age of Aquarius, and that's all that meant. It meant ion or age, not the end of time. But anyways, let's believe that they're right, and it's the end of time that's about to happen and is coming. And according to Jesus, when the end of time comes, well, this is where you have to interpret it the way you want to interpret it. Either something happens, and basically, which means God sends a flood or fire or something that kills all of us, and then we're all like souls still trapped here, kind of like purgatory or whatever you want to believe. And then him and Jesus and Satan, I guess, or Holy Mary or Holy Spirit or whatever, maybe all of them, big fucking party. And the archangels are all behind them and the demons are on the other side, and they split us up. And, the good ones go with God and the bad ones go with the demons and the devil. Or we're all alive and Jesus and God and the rest of those fuckers come back, kill us, and then take our souls to either heaven or hell. So, and this is what I wrote, basically. I've been paraphrasing, but this is still my own writing, and I'm paraphrasing my own writing. But I'm going to read the last lines here. So, after till then as well. And everyone is excited for this. Hold on one second. All right. So, every time I hear of doomsday predictions or end of times, whether it's from anybody who believes in the Bible or other people that don't, talking about ETs coming, end of the world scenarios, all this shit. It's like, if they're promoting Revelation and, that shit, it's like, really? You're excited for this shit? Because no matter how I look at that, it's dark. It's fucking dark. And I mean, I don't believe in any of that shit's going to happen, because it's all bullshit. It's all off of mistranslations and meant to create fear. But the people that believe in that, or that God, Jesus, all these fuckers, even Satan, I mean, you want this to happen? You want them to kill you and all your family and then, decide which ones get to go where? I mean, I don't know. That's fucked up to me. So to put your belief in that book and believe in that story and believe that's what's about to happen, I mean, that's not for me. But if you go by the facts and you read that book in the right sense or the wrong sense, it doesn't matter. What's going to happen is fucked up either fucking way. So my advice, what I wrote here, was to don't fucking ask for those things to happen. Don't be fucking cheering on ETs or doomsday predictions or any of this shit, because the more you put your energy into that or just watch that shit, the more likely that shit is about to happen or that outcome may happen. So don't put your energy into that shit no more, because that's fucked up. But anyways, that was an old thing I wrote a long time ago, channeled message or whatever you want to call it. I didn't channel shit, just me writing, automatic writing. Ugh. But I thought it was relevant for what I'm about to talk about, all these alien shits that are going on and how to interpret it the right way and where are they coming from. So I want you guys to have that in the back of the mind when I go through some of this other crap after. It's just the fact that, that's some pretty dark stuff. Even when it gets lighter, it gets pretty dark at the end, and it's a fucked up scenario. All right, so let's keep going here, and I'll give you another couple ideas I had. Now, all right, so where did I start? I kind of write in these sporadic orders, starting at the bottom of the page, one at the top, and sometimes I just write from right to left, and sometimes I even do that with the pages, and I didn't have my book, so these are like little random pages. This one was from actually today, whereas that one I read you was from a few days ago. Well, it was a thought from 2 days ago, and I finished it up today. But anyways, so, all right, so Book of Enoch, okay? I want you to think about the word Enoch, Enoch, okay? Enochian, all right? Enoch was Noah's dad. Okay, so what did Noah create? Noah created an ark, right? A-R-C, maybe A-R-C-H, Enoch, ark, okay? His dad became an archangel. And this is where I throw in a twist here just to make you think. And, I have no way of knowing this, or archon, or an archangel, an archon. And D, which would be John D, Queen Elizabeth's astrologer, and others. There were some others before him, and I can't remember their names, but there was other places, maybe not necessarily before him, maybe after him, but I think it was before. This is something I heard from, I'll play it for you if I find it, and if not, well, take my word for it, or don't, figure it out yourself. John D and others figured out Enochian, or Archon, the angel language, Arconian, a language in which may be Anunnakian. Okay, now just follow me on this. Okay, so the Book of Enoch equals Enochian. Let's just say that, which, was taken out of the Bible. Well, why is that? Well, in it, Enoch, a person, becomes an archangel. And is that a way to tell us that that might be true, that we can ascend into angels? Do we evolve? I don't know. I'm just saying shit. So Enoch, Noah's dad already said that, turned into an angel. John D created, intercepted, decoded, translated a language called Enochian, or Enochian tablets. All right. And what was Enoch? Well, Enoch was a man who turned into an angel. And what is Enochian? Well, it's the that language of the angels. Okay. And now to me, like I just said, the Anunnaki, or Enoch, or Enochian, all these things sound very similar, okay? And now you don't have to take my word for that. You don't have to say, well, that's kind of a stretch, putting the Anunnaki with Enoch, You're talking about archons and Anunnaki, okay? Those both start with an A, and then the ark from Noah, and you add that archangel, Metatron, which is Enoch now. Okay, whatever, maybe. But to say that the Enochians or the archons are actually angels, the Anunnaki are angels, that's a little bit of a stretch. Well, if you actually look at a definition of Anunnaki, and I heard this from, I think his name is Jim Mars, Anunnaki is, there's a translation for it. There's many now, but one of the older translation is of, it's heavenly beings, or beings from the heaven, or angelic beings, something to that effect is actually the translation of Anunnaki. Now, this is before New Age. So if you look at certain Bibles now, you have something that deals with mythical, demonic spirits or shit like that. But if you look at older Bibles, older dictionaries, you will see what I just said, that Anunnaki comes from root words of Enochi, and it comes from Enoch and Archangel Metatron, and it just means angelic realms, just like Archon could be an archangel, could be, anyways, I'm just, angel, they say that word comes from El. It's it's different demonic things from El, and this is how they justify the angels that were around before the Bible, say they're demonic spirits, because they come from El, which is something bad apparently, but it's not. It's from Egyptian and a few other mythologies, which I think it refers to the moon or Jupiter, other things depending on where you look. But like Israel is Isis, Ra, and El, right? So El is one of the darker ones within that. Because Ra and Isis are the parents, and then El wouldn't be the son, because that's Orion, or Horus, sorry. Then I think Orion comes after that. But point is, things that we can turn into good things, they turn into bad things, and then they make their own of the same things, and shit gets all fucked up. But anyways, this is something I wrote that I thought was a little funny, because I was listening to something, I think it was, and you'll hear it later, more possibly. I recorded quite a few of truth hunters and different things like that. And within it, there's many programs, they talk about these black op programs, and one of which was Project Stargate. And it was a remote viewing project through CIA. And, this is around the time of testing LSD and different drugs and shit like that. But, from remote viewing, from what I know, and take this for what it is. It's leaked fucking whistleblowers that could be fake, it could be real, and it could be, versions of both to differing degrees. So, but what I find fascinating is when I hear Stargate, I see Stargate and then I see Lionsgate, because those are both things that happen. I worked in a movie theater. And when I was working in the movie theater, my girlfriend at the time was also working at Blockbuster, so we watched a lot of fucking movies. And I got a picture imagination, like I've explained, and I see Stargate, I see Lionsgate, and when I think of Lionsgate, and this is what I wrote here. I forget where I wrote it. Let me see. Okay, Lionsgate, Stargate. Lion is Leo. Leo. Not always, but the majority of stars, and what I mean by stars, I mean celebrities, that we have birth charts for have Leo as either their ascendant, which a lot of them do. I don't know what the amount is, but anywhere from 55 to 65%, which is a big percent when you think about the stars, okay, have Leo as an ascendant. And then the other ones have Leo. There are some without Leo having a profound thing in it, but almost every time Leo will either have something like Jupiter expanding it, and it'll be in a house where it has to do with either its persona, its talent, something to that effect, okay? And, it'll have, the other ones will have Leo in a place on the chart within a house, obviously, and with the signs coordinating, making it, having something to do with being an actor, being an actor is a job, being a good person who can act well, fake well, lie well, whatever, those things. That will be, as in most of the charts, if you look up people, and it's not always just movie stars, it could be celebrities like singers that also star in things like Madonna. She's got similar attributes, whatever, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So anyways, when I heard that Stargate was a code or a Black Ops thing where people were doing remote viewing for CIA, well, I immediately thought of also Lionsgate. What is Lionsgate? Well, Leo is the sign of the stars, so if you have this in your chart as your ascendant, and or with different planets in there, well, go and look at maybe some of your favorite stars and see where the Leo is, and see how it responds to you, and see if you can find a star with your similar attributes. And especially if you're interested in acting or improv or shit like that, well then, great, follow that dream, This is a great way to interpret charts. Look at charts that people that you admire, that you know a lot about, whether it's family or friends or stars, and, compare their spots to yours. Instead of writing on YouTube like I suggest to do, where your placements are, you can always just look at a star's placements and, look through all these ones. This might take more time, but, you can maybe even write on YouTube which famous celebrity has their Taurus in the sign Taurus in the first house and have the sun in there, you know what I mean? Which is what I have, and there's a few people, but I can't remember who it was. But anyways, because on the chart that I use, I think it's AstroSeek or Astro Cafe or Astro.com, they give you things like that. But anyways, so when I heard that about remote viewing, I'm like, well, okay, well, Lionsgate, Stargate, that's weird, eh? So then it made me think about the other productions, movie, whatever they're called, those the people that either pay for the actors, whenever you started, this is Universal production, shit like that, like every Adam Sandler movie will say this is a Happy Madison production with Sony Entertainment or something like that. Okay, like the Sony Entertainment. Okay, well, that maybe I'll have to look into, and there's a few I dissected, but I started thinking about them, and I thought of I didn't think of this one right away, but it's probably one of the most obvious ones to think about. But for Minions, you'll see the little minions go, Illumination, Illumination, shit like that, right? Well, Illuminations, okay? It used to be Illumination Entertainment, but now it's just Illuminations, okay? And then from there we have Universal. What other ones do we have that I wrote down? I wrote a little thing down that might be, it's not necessarily comical or well put together, but to me it's a little funny. But we have Lionsgate, Stargate, Universal, Illuminations, Paramount, DreamWorks, Disney, I think that's all that I used here for now. But, so what I wrote, and so just take this for what it is. It's just a little something. But so we don't reach illumination. Entertainment / movie productions want to control the universal consciousness. A movie can affect, conform, alter, control, manipulate the universal consciousness. Our dreams work so controlling universally everyone's dreams remotely by us viewing their design, Disney, and work on controlling our destiny, Disney. If you can accomplish this, you will have paramount power. Now, take that for what it is. It was just something funny I worked out, but obviously I worked in all the words except for Disney. I put in there just because I know a lot of people talk about Disney being bad, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So, but I mean, but Disney doesn't mean design or destiny, designate, discern, discernment, destination, anything like that. I actually looked it up just to see if I could come up with anything, since, I figured I would say this, and, so maybe I could come up with other correspondence and shit like that. This is probably how you start a conspiracy, by the way. If you start looking at the correspondence of things, and then you start changing things around and going pretty far down, and then bringing it all back together with your point of view, basically how you start conspiracies and shit like that. But anyways, the word Disney comes from a town in France called Isigny, Isigny. Wikipedia, anyways, defines Isigny, except to say it comes from the Isigny le Buat. Okay, so which is the name of the town, or Isigny-sur-Mer, which are the two different towns or places in France where the word Disney comes from. So Disney, when you look it up, it'll say pronoun, as in Walt Disney, a last name, but it has been used for baby names for a gender neutral fucking baby, basically, for, those names can be for a girl or a boy. But when you actually try to see what Disney means, you get Isigny is how I'm going to pronounce it, but I don't think that's correct. Isigny le Buat, or Isigny-sur-Mer. Okay, so, and from there, won't let you go any further unless you go to French, and it doesn't translate it for you. You would have to keep going back and forth to translate those words in English. But because I know a little bit of French, I was able to do a little bit of this. So, the Isigny le Buat really spoke to me, and I'll tell you why in a second. But it refers to the Buat, and this is L-E, and there is like the in French, except French doesn't have just one, okay? The or a, or, it's, what is it called, an article or something to that, or a preposition. I don't know. Anyways, there's a name for that. And in French, it's l'article, article, basically, but a French version of saying that. And they have le and la, or different ones you can use, but they're basically masculine and feminine, and then masculine and feminine, but the plural version of those, le, and shit like that. So, anyway, and then buat is B-U-A-T. Anyway, so this refers, and the word they use is a marché. And so I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck is a marché? I've had a good idea, but I wasn't sure about it. And it's a department in France, and the word marché, when I went to read that, translates to sur mer, actually, which is French, which means underwater. So whenever you see Isigny sur Mer or Isigny le Buat, they're basically the same thing, those two words. It was weird though, because there was a picture of a map in France, and they were showing two different places. So initially I assumed these were two different towns with the same name, or same first name and different last names. And I think I might have said sur because I keep thinking sous is under, sur is on top. That's for French, under and over. So over water, I hope I said that right, on, above, over, and mer, M-E-R, is a body of water. usually, in French anyways, but it probably comes from, or one of the reasons anyways, mother in French is also mère, but it has an E at the end, M-E-R-E. I mean, people say maman as well, but mère, et frère, et père are all words in French for mother, father, brother. I'm trying to think of sister. I can't. Sœur is sister. Anyways, and mère meaning water, the M-E-R way. But in you know what I mean, in French, mère, it starts with an M. Water, blue, Mary, mother, moon. And in German, actually, M-E-R also means river. So whether it's sur or mer, or sorry, the word sur, S-U-R, all right, that's sur mer, or like in sumer, not sumer, because it'd be S-U-M-M-E-R, but it kind of gives you that feel, and I'll talk about that in a second. But sur mer, okay, is basically what these two words are, and S-U-R, sorry, is the German word for river. And like I just said, when I looked at that first, it kind of reminded me of Sumer, as in Sumerian, but that might be a stretch. But anyways, so the idea of, the reason I said the first one, Le Bureau, spoke to me is because Disney Buena Vista, okay, that's something you may have seen before. Disney at Buena Vista Company, shit like that. Buena Vista translates into good view. Now, buena can be used for hot or nice. Generally, it's kind of something along the lines of good. Now, insigne is something I haven't really was able to translate. I tried, but it wouldn't give me much. But something I thought was kind of cool and a weird coincidence is before I did the word insigne, which is where Disney comes from. That word, before I did it that way, I actually wrote it down incorrectly. I wrote Igzni, which is, kind of sounds similar, but insigne is I-S-I-G-N-Y, which you got almost ISIS there, but anyways. But Igzni, the way I wrote it, was kind of like Disney at the ending, I-G-S-N-E-Y. I wrote that by accident first because that's what I thought I saw, but I was just doing it phonetically in my head, and by accident, but fascinating, it gave me ixnay, which is Latin for, don't ask, but like, ixnay on the icase, when you're telling somebody using Pig Latin, but ixnay is actually a Latin word, and the rest is Pig Latin because you're saying the word backwards, like, don't ask about the cake, or don't ixnay on the AK, you know what I mean, something to that effect. So, and that was kind of cool. So when I decided to put that together, because there are no coincidences, and obviously I typed that in for a reason, right? Like I said before I started this is how you start a conspiracy, and that's not what I'm trying to do, but just to prove my point. Good view, so ixnay on the good view, so don't ask about the good view. And, Disney being a movie company, Buena Vista, Disney, right? So don't ask about the good view. It's kind of a fucking funny thing to ask about, right? But if you take the whole... the town in France with Le Bureau or Sumer, right? Both being river, water, over water. Don't ask about over water. Well, what the fuck is over water? Well, we can go as above, so below, right? As above, we have clouds up there that bring water down. There's been a lot of stories about flat earth saying, above us is water, below us is water, shit like that. Obviously, there's got to be water above us because it does rain at times. And, if you think about space for a second here, they say there's dark matter up there and shit like that. Okay. Well, what comes from space that I'm talking about today a little bit? Well, UFOs do. Well, I think Angry Birds enlightened me to this little aspect. And they all run to the beach. And they're like, well, what do you see? What do you see? I think it's a UFO. And I'm like, a UFO? An unidentified floating object. And I thought that was fucking funny, especially when you see stories, pictures, artwork of flying ships, like a pirate ship, but in the sky, Peter Pan, shit like that. So that's another fascinating thing to think about. But space itself, they show you pictures of space being shown underwater because the whole zero gravity thing. And, driving up to mountains and shit and doing this and being propelled down and, no gravity. And, well, there can't be wind in space, so why is the flag moving, and shit like that, right? There's no oxygen there, that's why you have the mass. There can't be no gravity there. Well, water has no gravity either, or it has less gravity, and that's what the moon's supposed to be. Moon being water. Well, that's a little fishy too, right? Once again, I'm not saying this is my belief. I'm not saying what's in space is actually water, but if you think about it, if space is what they say and there is no air, and there's nothing up there, right? There's no air. Because the reason you can't use a propeller, a jet, a flame basically behind your jet, a rocket engine makes flames and pushes you up in the air, right? Well, once you get out of our atmosphere, apparently it's like an O2, either nitrogen, not hydrogen, but either oxygen or hydrogen. It's like a blue looking flame, but it's O2, right? And we all know you can do that with O2. Now, you have to brush up on this yourself and figure it out, but the thing to look for, and you probably won't be able to find it, but can O2 or nitrogen, or even hydrogen for that matter, can this exist in an atmosphere that's, it's not either in water or with any air around it, with any CO2, or carbon dioxide or oxygen or anything like that? And, first thing I would say was, well, how could anybody know? How can you test these things in those environments? Man, unless you can make a room that has no air and go in there with a mask and see if these things can exist there, And obviously, I'm hoping if, let's say they did fake all this, they at least did these tests so people wouldn't catch on to this. But it's just something to think about. Because it could be to me, it's almost just as likely that up in space, where all that dark matter is, where most of the dark matter is, what makes up the universe, is something akin to water. Because as above, so below. We know there's water below us, there's earth below us, so there's obviously earth above us. We see these bodies, the moon, shit like that. We know there's earth up in space, but there's not necessarily any earth in our sky. But our sky is blue in the daylight and it's black at night. And our water follows that. It reflects that picture. That's why water's blue until you go out to it, but it's actually see-through. Well, it'd be very interesting to see what that looks like up there, because our sky being blue, but yet once you pass the atmosphere, it's all black, regardless if the sun's there or not. You know what I mean? That's why whenever the sun goes away, we see all the black, because it's kind of like space reflecting itself. But whenever we're closer to the sun, it lights up our plane and we get this nice blue sky. But it still doesn't make any sense to me a little bit, because how does it light up a blue sky? What around us is blue that makes it blue up there? What is that? The clouds block it, so we don't know what that is. And if someone tells you it's the water reflecting up there, it's like, okay, well, the water reflects the sky. That's why we see blue in the water, because we know there's water there, and the water's like a mirror. So if you're telling me the sky is reflecting the water, well, then I'll say that's fine. I like that idea, because it makes the idea that there's water up there even more viable, because there's got to be something up there reflecting the other reflection, right? Because otherwise, what are you telling me? The atmosphere is reflecting that? And once again, I could be sounding stupid right now, and maybe these things have already all been proven. I don't know. It's not what I study. It's just little thoughts that come to me. So if anybody knows the answers to my questions, by all means, send them to me, comments, whatever. Let me know so I don't make the mistake and bringing them up again and thinking I'm fucking having some breakthrough or starting a conspiracy. But those are the little things I wanted to bring up just now. I thought they were pretty interesting, and they all have to kind of something to do with what I'm talking about, whether it's about going into space, whether it's about alien contact, whether it's about spirits, whether it's about the Bible, deities, archangels, archons, all this shit. It all has to do with what I'm going to be talking about, channeling, spirits, entities, all that shit. So that's what I'm about to get into right here. I'm going to continue by continuing and reading, but yeah, so I hope that was a little bit interesting. Like I said, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong. Like I said before, whenever I found out Donald Trump was getting impeached, which has yet to happen, by the way, to my defense, because I said I thought it was all just this big ploy to get himself reelected. But when I heard he was getting impeached and being put up on trials, I think I, very small, made a segment saying, I apologize. I thought he was pulling a whole red herring trick, and that, he was just doing it as a big fake charade to keep himself in the media. And instead of people finding his dirty laundry, his conspiracies, his, stuff he does bad and wrong and exposing it, well, he put his own out there so that, everybody else can jump on his own bullshit. And then once he's proven not guilty from it or whatever the case is, then they won't be able to go after him anymore, because anything else after that would just look like they're butthurt and pissed off. And then when I found out he was becoming impeached, I was like, wow, okay. So in the new year, I started off with an apology. And, obviously we'll find out closer to the election what happens, because anything can still happen. And I'm not assuming I'm still right or wrong. I'm just dropping it because what the fuck do I know? But I'm just trying to prove the fact that I don't give a shit. Now I'm a big enough person to admit when I'm wrong. All right, so release hidden knowledge, evolve human race. This has been part of my message, not the whole time. Mostly my message has been learn magic to change your life. And in a sense, and more I'm coming to this, but this is not initially what I knew, but recently coming to the knowing, especially, when you think back to Grant Morrison's thing, and, if you read any Crowley books and shit, Robert Anton Wilson, Terence McKenna, or Terence is more about the whole plant thing, but through the plants you see the aliens and shit like that. But I digress, so I don't keep going. It's not, which is not any different, which is actually basically the same of, I don't know if I played it yet or not, but I'm going to be playing it, where this is the message that was received by various different people. I think almost all of them are military. Then I think there was a couple, 2 people from
own 8-bit code designators. I had Sergeant CJ's squares and ones translated. Here is the first page showing how letters and words emerge in ASCII binary code. Continuous protection of humanity. 49 degrees, 27 minutes north. 11 degrees, 5 minutes east. Expose hidden knowledge to all caps.
I don't know if it was Sedona or Colorado, which is kind of like opposite ends, but, something to that effect. But, in this message, the one I'm talking about, it's a guy named CJ, Linda Mold, Truth Hunters. Anyways, it's the Council of 5, okay? That point's kind of irrelevant to me, who it is. He says it's grays, but he saw the UFO, I guess, initially above him when he was driving from, wherever he was. Where the fuck was it? I can't remember. But they were going to Colorado, which is where he was going to be stationed. And he was supposed to get there. He plugged in his GPS. It was 2015 when this one happened with Colonel CJ. I think it's Colonel CJ. And CJ is a fake name for anonymity. But anyways, point is, they missed some time. They weren't on the right track. Yeah, they were following the GPS, and, they already saw the GPS, but, it's easy to go off track, and they reroute, and music listening, kids yelling, whatever, who knows? But anyways, apparently they saw this thing above them, bright light. Nothing happened at that point, and then they finally got to a hotel, I think in Atlanta, but I'm not sure. Maybe that's where they came from, but they stopped somewhere because they were dead tired, and they all went to bed, and that's whenever whether he was in trance, whether he was sleepwalking, dreaming, whatever, that's when he got his transmission. But anyways, so yeah, the Council of 5 aliens is irrelevant to me, but the transmission interpreted, channeled from the beings is what I focus on, regardless if it comes from aliens or spirits or gods or demons or deities. It's all the same. The entity contacting communication to a chosen human happens because this human is an open channel that they can communicate with. Now, whether that means they have specific things in their chart that make them that open channel, which I believe is possible, whether at a young age, and this kind of falls in the same category, because I believe people that can see their friends, their make-believe friends, people that can see spirits and stuff like that, there's a fine line there. I don't necessarily believe that the spirits and ghosts that those people can see and contact with and are walking around with people, I don't necessarily think that those are, the spirits, the people that pass. Like, for example, you can go to a medium, and that medium will ask you questions and talk to people in the audience, and, they'll say they see their dead mother beside them. Well, they'll say a lady beside them and describe them, or from the questions, the person discerns that that's their mother, and then from there, the mother tells them things that they want to know. Now, to me, I don't necessarily think that's a part of the actual ancestor or the mother that passed on. Then it is more that the person there who's constantly thinking about their dead mother and about the things they haven't let go, and the things they worry that they never got to say to them, and they wish they could just say it to them one more time and stuff like that. The fact that they put that sad fear emotion into that thought constantly, I believe, creates a thought form, and those psychic mediums can see those thought forms and from there speak to them. And those thought forms have all the shit inside of them that they regret. They basically program them with all the crap that they worry about. They say over and over again. Every time they think about that person, they think about, oh, I wish I would have said goodbye. We got into that fight. Oh, I wish I never would have gotten that fight. And whether or not that intelligent entity that they created there, okay, tells that all to the medium, or the medium, however the medium sees it. I can't tell that to you because I'm not one, but they can see all that. So, and I don't think it's a matter of the spirit saying, she's telling me it's okay. Whereas that's a human thing. This person knows they created that thought form, and maybe not even know that that's the thought form, but they see this being that's been created beside this person, and they see all this information within that, and from there they can tell this person who's been holding on to that, who's in pain, that you need to let this go. She says it's okay. They kind of fill in the blanks, but it doesn't change the fact that they can see and feel that information. Now, whether that actually looks like a person or spirit that physically tells them that, or it's just data, ones and zeros, or somehow they interpret that, but they can, and they do. And I think that has a lot to do with the same thing here. So these people are channels, conduits, things that energy can flow through them, but not the same kind of energy as electricity or data that we use down here, but superior energy that most people can't see and use. And I truly believe that when you start this path, especially when you open specific chakras or whatever, however you want to say that is, and that's just a different way to say, different stages of your initiation to me, whether you really want to believe these are channels in your body that have to open up, or, it's just different steps. Once you get over these milestones, this happens. All the same to me. It doesn't matter which ones are more real or less real. But when you do start this process, regardless if you've been able to do that since you were born or not, you will start doing something similar, which means talking to people, getting bits of information that you don't know where they're coming from, but you can tell them when you sit down, you write things, and then the more you do that, you're going to develop that skill. But if you were to sit down and try to talk to spirits in your kitchen, see if any are there, or go places where you think there are, or try to do that with people, eventually you're going to get a result. The more you practice anything, you're going to get something. If you decide this is what you want to do, and you put everything into there, and you start making sigils and doing magic for that to happen, well, then it's going to happen. You're putting all your energy into it. You're going to create that circumstance. That's what our mind does. Whatever we want or don't want, whatever we're focusing on, that's what's going to happen. So anyways, that's what I believe that these people that get these experiences are. They either have it in their chart or were born with it, which to me is kind of the same thing. Or, maybe they're ascending. Maybe they've experienced something that changes them. Kundalini, whatever you want to call it. They're having this kind of awakening. And this plays into the whole thing of, I think it was Alan Watts, maybe a few others too said it as well. But when someone's having an awakening, whether it's Jesus way back when, which, I know I already said about Jesus and God and all that in the Bible, and that's me taking the Bible literally, which I don't. But that was just under the assumption that I was a person taking it literally, this is what it would mean literally, and therefore these people should not be believing in that. They should be in fear of that, because that sounds more like a dark entity than a nice light entity to me. But in all actuality, let's say he is a historic person and had that experience. Well, there's a lot of people still having that experience here today, and they're getting an ascension happening to them, and they don't know what to do with it. So the only context they have is the Bible, which means Jesus was the only person that ever had something else like that happen to them. And it doesn't matter if they had or had not seen the internet, people having this experience as well. To them, it's not what they're going through, because they haven't researched it enough. If they do, they will see other people's going through it, so they will understand, okay, well, this is what's going on. Which is why we finally have a language to help us evolve now. But it took a long time, and I'll get into that a bit later. But this is important, because to me, this is kind of similar. So these people are having these things happen to them. They're getting these channeled messages, and they don't know people are going to believe it. They don't know what's going on, or this is how it's presented to them. Whether they actually see a UFO or not is irrelevant. Once again, it's the message to focus on is what everybody needs to focus on. Now, I think it was Terrence McKenna that says, I don't know if I played this one or not, but he said that there's a good example he gave that, the subconscious, when things get too shitty, things get one-sided, somebody gets too strong, the world gets a little too unbalanced, subconscious will come through and, will kind of move things into a direction by, connecting a bunch of people's ideas. People start doing kind of what's happening today. This big movement has been happening. Well, not today, but it's been, I don't know. Some people say it's been since the 80s. And that might be when some of these seeds started, but technically you can go back to the 50s or 60s when this started. The whole UFO started way back then, But right now, we're at a point where the UFO stuff, we still haven't gotten disclosure for it. But people are saying there's more and more sightings. And, once again, to me, it could be real. I think maybe these people are literally seeing UFOs. But it's because they can see energy in thought forms. Therefore, if you think of this through, let's say what I just said, there are people out there that can see thought forms. Okay, they can see UFOs, they can see thought forms. All people, all shapes and sizes. They're either born with their planets in certain places where they can just pick up these energies, or they're magical people, or you know what I mean, they've done magic to feel this, or, as they got older, they went through these awakenings and, started doing things, and then, got with other people that are doing the same, and then, one person sees it, maybe the other people just pretend they see it, but they just go along with the crowd. I don't know, but if there are people that see thought forms, and, in the 50s, whatever population we have, it wasn't quite 7 billion yet, but now we're at 7 billion. So at 7 billion, if you take a small percentage, 1% of 7 billion is what, like 7 million? I'm not doing that shit again. I already did the whole 1% of selling 7 billion, and then I think I ended up being 700 million or 70 million or something like that to change the world. I forget what the number was. But anyways, point is, let's say 1% of the world can do this or born with that. And then there's another 1 to 2% that are learning and changing to be able to do that. Well, let's say all 3% of these people can see thought forms. And today's day and age, with the amount of people putting their thought and energy and fear or love emotion into all the alien craziness, because if you have a strong emotion while watching a movie and it's like Independence Day or Men in Black, who's to say that doesn't create a thought form? And that's the kind of idea that plays into what I was just talking about with the whole moving pictures, the whole remote viewing thing. By us watching these Ixnay on the good view thing, by us watching these motion pictures and, movies, and putting our thoughts and energies into these movies. And then what we see ends up becoming real. Well, who knows? But put that part aside and just assume that everybody in the New Age or whatever that really believes aliens and all these other ideas, which, I believe some of them too myself, so I'm guilty of it. Well, some of us create thought forms together, and we have this own collective conscious thought form. Well, the people that can see thought forms, let's say psychic mediums and channelers that can see this shit, if they see it, bud, it's real to them, and they see these beings. Not only that, maybe these beings can talk, they can channel. If we start believing the stories about alien contact and shit like that, then we create a home for them, a place for them, where they're from. We create their programming, what they're here for. And it's no different than what I explained about the Bible, or what the magician does with a thought form and creates what they do, energy, thought forms, all this shit. So that's a little bit about that. But anyways, I'm going to keep going what I'm writing here. Control, contact, and communication that a choosing human happens because this human is an open channel. Okay, but depending on the belief, programming, and intelligence, education, and culture, environment is the determining factor to how and what the being will appear or describe or show itself as for best results. And once again, I think I already said this a few times today and yesterday about a religious man, priest, practicing Christian would be God, Jesus, angel, Mary, someone like Eoi Quetting would be, most people think a demon, but it would be either an archangel or a Norse god, or maybe even Lucifer, Astarte, Venus, a military man might be an alien, being from another planet, insinuating an attack. Scientists is going to see the world as a hologram or an energy or a computer simulation, binary, dark matter. To a pagan and witch, it could be the earth spirits, water spirits, plants, deities. Terence McKenna, it's going to be plants, mushrooms, LSD, DMT, other realms. Once again, no matter where the message or from where the message comes from, or how either dreams, writing, drugs, channeling, divination, aliens, praying, synchronicity, so on, is irrelevant. This only matters if you want to have contact. And one of these ways, contact. And one of these ways you try didn't work, then try another one. Simply put, we're all different and have different beliefs, talents, programming, different ways of receiving messages, different environments, cultures. Even more than this, if someone receives a message and it's subtle, as I said it would be, or as it happens to me, however, want to tell the world, everyone, which most people do when they get into this, whether it's this or just getting messages from something. And, it's they want to tell everybody. So you have these high military guys getting these messages, having an awakening and getting this knowledge, coming to these realizations that they want to tell people, but they can't. They have oaths. They don't want people to think they're crazy. Maybe they do tell a friend. Friend's like, man, go to sleep, man. You had a dream or something like that. So in fear of, getting kicked out or whatever the case, they just shut the fuck up and they leak it. That's definitely a possibility. Because they know it's important, would it be better, would it be better or received better by population, by a way podcast and telling you it's subtle, like I do basically. I kind of butchered that, but what I'm trying to say is here, what do you think, which way is better? By me explaining it to you with no picture, no face, no proof, just references and this is how this happens, I think it's how this happens, or if it's a show on, let's say, Gaia, and it's a military man explaining a big thing, and obviously why would a military man think there's aliens unless there's really aliens? Or Grant Morrison saying he's been abducted by aliens, and they told him a message telling everyone, he told them a message that the aliens told him, but then he tells everyone he got rich and changed his reality through magic, via sigil in the form of a comic, like a super sigil. Or truth hunters, like I said, with whistleblowers, military people. Military men anonymously stating alien messages, evolution of mankind is the most important, and release hidden knowledge. AKK, by the way, I haven't hit this yet, but hidden knowledge, occult knowledge, kind of goes hand in hand, kind of what a cult means. And saying we may be in danger, or by a scientist saying world life is a computer stimulation, or hermetic saying, we're in the mind of God, which once again to me is the same. Or prophets, son of God, saints, angels speaking to us like in Bible. Or Mesopotamia, Sumeria, gods from heaven, which are to me the same. And now instead of cuneiform tablets or emerald tablets or Bibles, or the Nag Hammadi scrolls, Dead Sea Scrolls, libraries, or nowadays using our technologies such as documentaries, movies, blogs, ebooks, podcasts, YouTube, past and present people channeling spirits, quantum physics, or magic, witchcraft, or Bible, or Egyptian, Greek, Norse, Roman mythologies. It's all the same. We are all trying to evolve our species, but without proper language and connecting the two halves of our conscious and unconscious mind, or trying all of these ways of mediumship previously mentioned, then new and crazier ways of getting the attention of the masses will continue. So that was a lot I said there, and I have to break that down possibly, but we have all these old ways coming to light. We have all these new ways of saying what happened days of old. We have New Age explaining new ways. We have alien contact, which has been happening, if you believe the stories, since the 40s, and even older, since the 1800s, and according to the wall, cuneiform, all these different Egyptian, whatever it's called, I forget what it's called when they write on the wall, it's got a special name, but it's been happening for a while, and now more than ever, we're able to give the message around the world simultaneously to every mind. And I made this up, so this is the last episode. This is how you're able to tell everybody and paint the picture of the world to everybody simultaneously, and everybody's mind from home, not even leaving your computer room or your living room, can keep manifesting the world in reality the way everybody sees it, by movies, TV shows, reality, internet, news, all that. But now we have all these other ways, and everybody's trying to explain what's going on, and it's hard, but it's happening, and we're trying to evolve our language. We're trying to figure out how we talk, how we get this through to people about what's happening to us. And aliens, contact, UFOs is just another way, I think, to get people to evolve, to start believing this stuff. But at the same time, there are people trying to turn it into a fear thing, that it means it's the end of times, the prophecy in the Bible, shit like that. And that's where I'm going to have to stop for a moment. But yeah, like I said, I always say, you won't notice. Alright, so I've said this before, last episode, many times. I said in either my first episode or first 5, 10th, whatever, we have come to a point where we thought there was no God, no life outside our universe, which one and the same, and not caring about plants, animals, water, air, earth, that to get people's attention, we had to go to the opposite side of polarity. So from no aliens to there are aliens living among us, gods from the Bible, ancient civilizations are aliens, and they are among us as well. The elite royal families are aliens, just to push humans to next stage of evolution. Now, the message from truth hunters after seeing UFOs with wife, Colonel CJ goes to the bathroom when arriving at hotel while family is sleeping, and unconsciously receives a message from is in binary apparently, and he came to the bathroom with a pen and paper and the message, and he has no memory of what happened, and you're going to hear this all later. Now, I want to interpret that message with, and, when I say interpret, I just mean my opinion of what it is and how I think it's important. Not necessarily interpret word for word and, the actual message itself, but what they tell us the message is. With my twist, which is what everyone should do with Bible, Sumerian tablets, Emerald tablets, Mesopotamian shit, Hermetic principles, and all of magic, witchcraft, in all of religions, spiritualities, mythologies, and even fiction, non-fiction books, movies, philosophy, scientific papers, everything and anything. So basically what I'm saying, in there, I see I'm on my way to get my stepson at cadets right now. So I don't have much time, but I'm trying to get this finished up so I can honor my commitment on saying the next day putting my part 2 out. And I don't have much left to write besides the message itself, coordinates, and then my opinion and some cool things I picked out of the coordinates and the numbers, because numbers mean things to everybody. Me and you can both see the numbers 5 and 11, and to me that'd be my birthday. To you that might be something significant that happened to you on a specific day. Could be your height, could be the height of somebody that passed on, you know what I mean? Everybody can decipher something from a message, or put those numbers together, it means 7. You can say something about Saturn, say something happened when you're 7 years old. And that's probably one of the reasons why whenever consciousness takes full effect, when our subconscious develops a consciousness, it's most likely around ages between 4 to 7. I think 4 being a number of Jupiter and 7 being the number of Saturn. But anyways, well, that's besides the point. But what I'm trying to say here is every message can be interpreted by everybody and anybody, okay? So just because the one I'm talking about that talks about, well, it doesn't say occult, but hidden knowledge and release it and shit like that. Just because it says that and whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean, the occult shit I'm spitting out. But to me, that's what I interpret. Someone else, a truther, might be like, oh, okay. And most of them did, they hear this because it's from truth hunters, after all. But they heard this and be like, okay, well, this is all the stuff hidden. But, it's not like if the aliens were talking about their existence per se, wouldn't the message have said something? And I mean, this is just me assuming, and maybe it's just easier to say hidden knowledge because it's more broad. So instead of saying, release our knowledge of our existence to the population, they said release hidden message. But anyways, that's what I want to get to in a moment. But what I'm trying to say is everything you hear, every message, and even if these messages have been tainted, okay, with opinions, perceptions, left, right, whatever, different religions, even if they're completely one-sided, it's still okay and even enlightening to listen to them, interpret them, and, figure out what pops up in your head when you listen to it. Because understand, the same forces that got that message and then wrote it down or let the world have it and then are within you. The same forces that received that message, reinterpreted it, and got people to believe in their interpretation and spread it around, well, those forces are also in you. And, other forces that change it dramatically, either back to closer to its original intent or even more to that side, or both, are also within you. All these are within you. So by you interpreting it, you're releasing your version of what you think it means, and that might be important to somebody, but above all, it might be enlightening and important to you. This is a good way to use your mind power. Using your own fucking brain is an important thing, and in my opinion, enough people don't do it enough. I had an episode before where I know some people said I insulted my own family, and I kind of did. How they just like to sit around playing games and shit, and it's not me insulting them and thinking, they're ignorant just to be ignorant. They're ignorant because they don't know any better. No one does until they fucking, see something that opens their eyes and allows them to have a reason to not be ignorant. Because until you know this, you don't really care if there's a point to life. You just take for granted that, okay, their religion might be right, or these other fucks might be right. Who the fuck really knows which one of these fucks are right? But, to me, I don't really know yet. So until I get to a point where I have to choose or see some proof, I'm just going to do my own thing. And, as far as I know and seen my parents and parents before them and heard about in the past, that everybody's got to work. Or, if you choose not to work, you go on the system and then you have to make do with less money. And, but that just means you have more time. Versus if you work, well, you get more money but less time. So which one do you choose? In all honesty, now that I know what I know, I'd probably pick the latter. I'd probably rather more time than money. But in the same sense, with my fucking clan of kids, it's not always easy to pick that choice. But that's why, you know, depending on how things play out in the next few years, I'll just find my own balance, you know. If that means I gotta stay on my Suboxone, my drug, and then every so often get my doctor to sign papers to make me go on EI because I want to try to get off my dose or whatever, and that means I get to take 2 to 3 years off every year, and then, you know, manifest a bit of money so that, you know, I can survive until the EI kicks in and shit like that, well, then so be it. Or if something else takes off, or I find something else I want to do where, you know, it's worth living and I enjoy waking up to the point where I don't need this, or I find a reason to get rid of it, or whatever the case is, then I'll go with that. So, like, it kind of resembles what I just said. Until I have proof, I'll just do this, and that's kind of what I'm doing right now. But in the same sense, this message that I'm about to interpret says what I am trying to do. Now, like I said in the beginning, I'm not gonna pretend that this whole time I've been trying to release this hidden occult knowledge, and I'm an alien side, or I was recruited by them, or I am one of them. No. I've been trying to tell people, shit, sorry about that, guys, my phone just fell. I've been trying to tell people that magic is real, and to use it to their benefit. When I started, I was a stay-at-home dad, and, you know, manifested 10 grand to stay off, and then I got that 10 grand more times, plus a few other checks, and, you know, a couple other jobs on the side, and, you know, ways to keep getting my EI when I wasn't supposed to, and then I got fucked up by me selling it. But anyways, the point was, I was saying, you guys can do this too. Anybody wants to do this. And it wasn't just special to being a stay-at-home dad or mom. It was whatever you want to do. Take up magic and start working towards your goal. Because you'll probably soon find out that, well, it's not what you want. Because, you know, me staying at home on EI, first of all, is not sustainable because you have to work to continue to get EI. But to me, that's a better solution. You work until you're available for EI, you take the EI that you paid into, and then you go back to work when you have none left, and you take it. To me, that's a nice balance where you're not just on welfare the whole time, but you're not just working the whole time. You get to enjoy the years in between, you know? And even on EI, you pay into CPP and shit like that. Well, maybe not CPP, but you pay into certain things. But point is, I can't see because I'm driving right now, but release hidden knowledge to humanity. It's important to evolve the human species is kind of the baseline of this message and many other messages. And then, you know, they focus probably more on the stop sending messages and beware people bringing false gifts, bearing false gifts, basically. It kind of sounds like a Bible verse, bears a false witness and shit like that. But, you know, point is, go ahead. Point is, these things are put there for a reason, and it doesn't matter why. It is a truth show. And if you listen to our other episodes, like the next episode, or it was this one, she actually talks to the dude, has an interview with the dude that said this. His voice is all scattered. And, you know, it sounds semi-legit. And then in the following one, she puts together two voices and makes them one. And, you know, there's certain times where the guy's, kind of agreeing with her, but it sounds like a dialogue that's going on within her own head, basically, so to speak. Alright, where's my OE? Sorry about this, but yeah, more or less that's what it sounds like. Yeah, all I mean by that is, if someone, you know, if you ever had a conversation in your head and trying to prepare to tell your boss something, excuse for work, whatever the case is, okay, I don't know what you want to use as an example, but you would, you know, say stuff to them and maybe the conversation goes far, but it's whenever you explain an idea to somebody else and, you know, that person would be like, oh, yeah, no, I never thought of that, or, you know, I never thought about it that way. What I'm trying to say is, when somebody does this to themselves, and it's not always the case, but, you know, in a movie would even go this way too, if the character is daydreaming about what may or may not happen when he's talking to his boss about a specific situation, or girl, or whatever, he'll say it and in his head, he'll be like, oh, I never thought about it that way, or you're right, or you know what I mean? Instead of acknowledging it in a way like, because you could say, well, that's an interesting concept. However, that's something I've never heard of before or whatever. But when someone else thinks about it and in their own mind as the other person, they generally think about it in a way that, benefits the other person, compliments the other person. So not only are they saying, hey, that's an interesting concept, I've never thought of that concept before. It's, that's an interesting idea. I've never thought about it your way. Or, it's another good idea. It's kind of complimenting the other person. And in that sense. So that's kind of what I mean by that. And, the first video with the other one, when she drops ideas like that, he says, well, I don't know, or oh, that's possible. However, I think it's more like this. And that's more likely to happen when speaking with government agents that know more about you, about something, versus the second time it's two men combined into one. And, that's just the overall tone. And, that's what I understood, and that's what I got from that. Now, it doesn't mean that's accurate. She could be telling the truth, or, maybe it's a version of the truth that what happened, yet it's not completely how it happened. So that's all I'm trying to get at there. But anyways, that's besides the point. So, and like I really want to make everybody understand that I'm not here to dislin the mold, nor am I trying to break down whatever she's saying or anything like that, because I think this is obviously something that had an effect on me, because regardless if it's because I was, having a fucking, as much as I don't want to keep saying this, but an empathic experience and tapping into my body, was going through a hard time because I had spent a lot of time with him every day, basically, for the last couple of weeks. Well, not every single day, but giving him a ride, half an hour a day, let's say. It was enough to kind of feel weird shit going on, and, start watching alien shit that I really don't agree with watching or think is beneficial to anybody, but, I have. And this is something I watched in the past anyways, so, it's part of him and it's part of me, so this is not necessarily something he's ever watched. But when it comes to watching something of that nature, I wanted to watch something I've already seen before. So to me, it couldn't do any more fucking damage, basically, was how I was, I guess, thinking. Subconsciously anyways, because not consciously, because that just came to me now. But, so I'm not tearing her up or calling her anything, because I have no idea whether that happened or not. This is not an expose. This is not an episode to further push my point that aliens don't exist. I'm simply just telling you what I think. I don't necessarily think these things are exactly real. And if they are, they would only either expose themselves to those they want to, which seems to be the case, and or, like I said, if people can see thought forms, servitors that are created, thought forms, egregores, let's say, then anybody sensitive who's able to see those things would see them. But let's just take it in a different direction before I keep going. I guess. Well, actually, first, before I do that, I want to just state that, what I'm saying, what I meant by her talking, because I don't know how clear I've been coming. So if you're having an internal dialogue with someone who you need to have a conversation with, whether you're acting and you're playing out the roles, whether you're trying to ask a girl out and you're playing the dialogue that's her dialogue, and, obviously in your head it's going to go way better than the way it should be, way it's going to play out in person. Because she's not going to be like, oh, yeah, I think you're fucking hot. I really want to fuck you. So, yeah, I'll totally go out with you. But that's something in your head you might be, fucking thinking about or saying. Point is, that's what I got. The first video with the CJ voice sounded way more legit than the second one when she mashed the two guys together. Now, that doesn't mean what she said isn't true or isn't real. She's done a lot of good work. She's done a lot of work way longer in any movement than I've ever been in, times 100. So she's been in this more longer than I have. So if you take her at her word, which I had no reason not to, so I will. She mashed those two interviews together as one person for anonymity. And, when doing that, when maybe going in between the two guys, the responses, and maybe when she just put in her own responses and then continued on. But it really does sound like, if she was having a dialogue in her head or trying to, get her point across better, then that's how it would go. Because, like I said before, any government agent or military man who's seen these things versus her, someone who's just exploring them, who hasn't necessarily seen them, her ideas are her ideas. And what they've seen is what they've seen. And they have their own ideas. So for them to just be like, well, I've never thought about it that way, I find that very unlikely, but it's not impossible. But, just because the fact that they have to actually seen it, heard from them, spoke to them, and all that. So she's just getting third-party information to come to her conclusions, which is fine. But they've had the first-hand knowledge. So, and that's why in the first one, when the guy said, whenever she does that, and the guy says, well, that's possible, so to not hurt her feelings. However, I think it's more along these lines. And like I said, you'll hear it after. And if I can, I'll record the second one just so you can compare. And once again, this could be a trick too. Because it's kind of like a reverse NLP. And that's not the right term, but I can't think of the right term. But by the same person giving you something that's fake and the same person giving you something that's real, you focus more on the real. Because be like, wow, okay, this is what she looks like when she's lying. And so this means by default, this looks like what she looks like when she's telling the truth. Therefore, this is the truth. And this can be doctored and faked. Once again, I'm not saying that I have no idea if any of this is real or fake. I just know what I know. I know what I believe. And until I'm either proven otherwise or come into some better knowledge or see something, then it doesn't really matter to me. But if you need people to become believers, everybody's going to believe in other ways. I'm the kind of guy that I clearly believe in occult stuff without even having to see aliens. I'm not the kind of guy that needs to see things to believe it. I did, however, have to do magic to know that it would work before it just started working. But you have to have belief in what you're doing for it to work. Because if you don't believe in it, then you're constantly going to be thinking about it. And you're like, when's this going to happen? When's this going to happen? When's this going to happen? You won't be able to let it go. And even more than that, things are going to get... But anyways, I'm not going to go into that. The point I'm trying to make is I do believe in a lot of things. I believe in a lot of different magics. I believe in a lot of different ancient civilizations. I believe in a lot of things. Very, very out there things. To a lot of people, my family even looks at me crazy. Yet, they can believe in a mythical character from the Bible and the Old Testament God and all that shit, which I'm going to get into in a second here. But to the way they portray alien life, aliens coming down, harvesting genetic fucking shit, trying to, talking about our bodies as canisters and cans and our soul as a residue. And every time the soul leaves the body, it leaves a residue in the body. Well, it doesn't really make sense. And that's the second one as well, because it says there's always residue left in the canister. But the canister is the body. The body doesn't get recycled. The soul does. So, to a sense, it says, okay, well, the soul does the same thing. That's a good analogy if you were saying the body is being recycled, but you're not. You're saying the soul is being recycled. So, apparently a bit of the canister rubs off on the soul. And from there, that's why we can have past lives and shit like that, because your soul has every life that's ever been, a little bit of residue on it, so to speak, from the canister that it was in. But anyways, that's besides the point. The only thing I wanted to say was just, well, not the only thing I wanted to say, but I just wanted to clarify further what I meant. It's a dialogue going in Linda Mold's head, and then she's portraying it as her having a conversation with two different military men that she condensed and put into one, and fucked up the voice so you couldn't make it up for their own protection. Oh, which is quite convenient for all alien conspiracies. whether it's the people on stage claiming to be whistleblowers and saying the reason more people don't come out is because they're scared that they're going to get killed. And, I could get killed for saying this information. And then, a minute later, it's like, I don't care. I'm done. I'm willing to go to Congress with this. And, a couple minutes later, it's like, oh, we've seen people actually get killed for getting out this information. And then, oh, it's nothing. I'm protected. You know what I mean? It's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And they go with, like, the crowd's responses. But the problem is, you're going with the crowd, and you got the crowd on your side, and that's fine. But then if you publish it on YouTube, not the entire crowd is as polarized as you are, or as you're trying to convince them to be. And sometimes you may not have people that aren't polarized like that. It's very easy to get people on your side, even if you contradict them, especially when you're face to face. But me as a third party going into these things depolarized, so I don't attach feeling to anything. It's very easy for me to find what I think are loops, holes in their ideas, fake shit, whatever, going forward. And this is one of the things I advocate, is what I'm advocating here for, is you can, you can watch these things. Now, from the point I started this to now, point I started my podcast to now, it's probably been over 6 months. And that is relevant because all of a sudden looking at alien stuff. And if everybody or anybody, or at least the majority of the people that listen to me, had they started their initiation from the book Kabbalah, The Great Work of Self-Transformation, what we're worried about now would be a little bit past the 6 month point, which in the book says the grades last that long. So that everybody would be done the neophyte. And not everybody had started whenever I started. I think it was June or July of this year when I started. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, fucking coffee. But, so right now being February of the new year, let's pretend I started in July. Well, from July to December would have been the 6 month mark. And right now it's 2 months past that. So we're at the 8 month mark, give or take weeks, days, whatever. So now I'm going back into conspiracy stuff, and it's not that I'm doing this on purpose or intentional, it's just where I'm going. But if you stop and think about it, to me it's just like, okay, well, maybe people are fairly depolarized now to the point where they can handle this shit and look at things objectively and start coming up with their own conclusions. Now, even though I was done my neophyte, everybody knows I'm on the second elemental grade, but I'm not, that's 3 grades in basically, and I'm only now looking at alien stuff because, well, that comes back to that whole fear of spirits. Just because you're over a fear doesn't mean that fear still doesn't have a little bit of, I don't want to say a hold on me, because I don't think it has a hold on me, but I don't know how to put that in a different sense. But all I'm trying to say is I'm looking at this again, and I'm trying to provoke people to look at this stuff because there's a message here that's important. And I don't know what that message is, but it's not the message they're trying to portray. They're giving you a message that might have some meaning to it, but it's all the other stuff they're not saying in that message that actually is their message.
All right, so I wrote down the message before I just keep going on and on. It goes something to the effect of this. Scientific papers, everything. Continuous protection of humanity, and then 49 degrees, 27 minutes north, 11 degrees, 5 minutes east. Expose hidden knowledge to all citizens. Advancement imperative to planetary survival. Beware of Orion 1350.3, Z Reticuli 39.1, and then there's a question mark, and that's from the translator. There's number 70, I think it is, and then avoid in brackets for signal, because that's what the interpreter assumes. So avoid message sent. And, then they go on to say, this is what I mean by, I think they focus on other stuff. They want you focusing on other things more than, the hidden knowledge. Because to me, and, to a lot of people nowadays anyways, the statement saying hidden knowledge, to me, I mean, and it could be just because that's what I study is hidden knowledge, right? Occult knowledge. To me, that's pretty plain to see what the fuck that is. Oh shit, that one's huge. And that's what I get out of it. That's one of the most important parts.
But that's probably not necessarily what they're going at. I think I've already said this before. The hidden knowledge that they want people to think is everything the government hid from them. And, I don't want to see anything bad happen to anybody, to the world, to humankind, to fucking anything. But, I said this Bible story thing at the beginning, where my main point of what I said about the Bible, God, Old Testament, New Testament, Jesus, and Revelation, and that they're going to come back and either kill us and tell us where to go, or we've already died from some anomaly, or it's just the end of time, the sun blew up and we're all done, and then they come back and split us up. Well, I'm not here to say if aliens are real on our side and they're trying to protect us from that, but that's one way you can take it, and one way I've thought about this, and it's probably the way I like it the best if I was to pick a way. The other way is, you can use this as a ploy to say, all right, we're the government and we admit it, the whole Jesus thing is real, and Jesus and his dad are about to come back, and that's the hidden knowledge they want us, and this is how we're going to evolve, and they're really aliens, but coming back, and here's all our doctored proof, and blah, 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 blah. Either one of those I don't think is actual real, but I wouldn't put it past him thinking it. But if I had to pick, it'd be the second option, because that Yahweh is a hell of a motherfucker. Be aware of Orion. I know Ra, I know Horus, I know, and Orion's there too somewhere, but Orion's belt is the Three Kings, which is where the pyramids were, made after, and I don't think Orion's a bad guy, but I think I've heard stories about Orion being Horus's son, and, people talking about Jesus having a son, which is Satan, Lucifer, and shit like that, talking about Orion coming back, well, it could be devil coming back. I'm just telling you the extent of the fucked up stories that could happen, and I don't want anybody to buy, so I'm trying to release the hidden knowledge that there might fucking come at a point and try to pull over everybody's eyes. Now, is there a God of the Old Testament and his son coming back to mankind? Who knows? I mean, the old Sumerian fucking claims say that they might come back one day and, do whatever. And if you believe such things, then great, good for you. There's a lot of things out there in the New Age that also try to push that our New Age is going towards a Christian, and I say our, and then it doesn't mean I'm necessarily New Age, but I use the New Age community to learn what's going on, what people are starting to think nowadays, and how much people don't know about the older stuff that people are just either assuming or passing off as, well, this is what happened way back when, which may or may not be true. So I use the New Age to get a little ruler stick, a guideline of what to maybe talk about, what maybe to not talk about, what maybe is going on. And I can see overwhelmingly both sides. You see people that are fighting, think New Age has been infiltrated by Christianity, or it's been a fake movement to get people on a different type of Christianity all along, or it's been hijacked by the extreme opposite side, and it's really just all demon worship, and eventually it leads to going to hell, which kind of are one and the same. But anyways, my point of all that is this message that was given, the hidden knowledge thing. I like it, and what I derive from it is probably not what it's meant to do, what it's meant for the public to see or whatever. And I don't care what it's meant to see. That to me is the same relevance as what the Bible is meant to do. Whatever the Bible is created to do, what are the Roman Catholics created to do, Jesus came down or not, whatever those stories were meant to do for us is irrelevant to me. What that Bible does for me is relevant to me. So what I mean is, I take those stories and I flip them and change them and use them in the way that I can. As do I do with stories like this and other stories. Like I said, interpret everything you get, because you don't know what's what. Yeah, all I mean by that is, if someone, if you ever had a conversation in your head and trying to prepare to tell your boss something, excuse for work, whatever the case is, okay, I don't know what you want to use as an example, but you would, say stuff to them and maybe the conversation goes far, but it's whenever you explain an idea to somebody else and, that person would be like, oh, yeah, no, I never thought of that, or, I never thought about that way. What I'm trying to say is, when somebody does this to themselves, and it's not always the case, but, in a movie would even go this way too, if the character is daydreaming about what may or may not happen when he's talking to his boss about a specific situation, or girl, or whatever, he'll say it, and in his head, he'll be like, oh, I never thought about it that way, or you're right, or you know what I mean? Instead of acknowledging it in a way like, as you could say, well, that's an interesting concept. However, that's something I've never heard of before or whatever. But when someone else thinks about it and in their own mind, as the other person, they generally think about it in a way that, benefits the other person, compliments the other person. So not only are they saying, hey, that's an interesting concept, I've never thought of that concept before. It's, that's an interesting idea. I've never thought about it your way. Or, it's another good idea. It's kind of complimenting the other person. In that sense. So that's kind of what I mean by that. And, the first video with the other one, when she drops ideas like that, he says, well, I don't know, or oh, that's possible. However, I think it's more like this. And that's more likely to happen when speaking with government agents that know more about you, about something. Versus the second time, it's two men combined into one, and that's just the overall tone, and that's what I understood, and that's what I got from that. Now, it doesn't mean that's accurate. She could be telling the truth, or maybe it's a version of the truth that what happened, yet it's not completely how it happened. So that's all I'm trying to get at there. But anyways, that's besides the point. So
and very complicated. The first time someone in a serious government capacity talked to me about one of the alien presences on Earth was a Washington, D.C. military source. He claimed firsthand interaction with at least one type of non-human like this one. He agreed to talk with me off the record about the gray type that he knew as EBINs, all caps, a government acronym standing for Extraterrestrial Biological Entities. The military source told me that this drawing was, quote, almost like a photograph of an EBIN, close quote. The only difference is the EBIN skin color is cement sidewalk gray. I have also been told that among the variety of gray-skinned non-humans, some have been observed to change colors to cream, brown, or pale green, depending upon feeding schedules. The EBIN eyes are not sharply slanted, but are almond-shaped with dark brown irises. I ask if the EBINs have vertical pupils like a snake underneath their brown eye surfaces, as some human abductees have described from encounters with gray types. The government man seemed unsure, but stressed that the EBINs have pear-shaped heads, not triangular, with pointed chins like some other gray types that are not friendly to humans, as the EBINs allegedly are. I also understood that the EBINs, grays, tall, pale humanoids, and reptilian humanoids all make biological androids programmed for various functions by their ET makers. He said that the original source of the EBINs is a desert planet orbiting the binary suns Zeta Reticuli 1 and 2, about 39 light-years from Earth. The EBIN planet skies are described as bright to dim but never dark. This pastel drawing was done by a Colorado male abductee. In late November 1985, he and his wife in their moving car were lifted up by a beam of cerulean blue-green light from a highway near Longmont, Colorado. The whole case, with many photos and illustrations, is in my first book, An Alien Harvest. My military source told me the Ebens are supposed to be friendly and do not abduct people, he said. But he had to admit to me that if this illustration by the husband was almost like a photograph of an Eben, then it meant the Ebens did abduct the husband and wife. The couple in their car were carried from the Longmont, Colorado highway to a forest where an egg-shaped craft was on the ground, supported by angled struts. The Washington military source knew about my home box office TV project that took me to Kirtland Air Force Base on April 9, 1983, where I was shown an alleged briefing paper for an unnamed U.S. president that said, quote, "These extraterrestrial biological entities manipulated DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien," close quote. My military source said that was true, but he stressed that no one in the American government with access to that knowledge ever wanted to be alive if or when such an announcement were broadcast to the world that humans are someone else's experimental androids and ET human hybrids. He told me that he had talked firsthand with a U.S. Air Force captain who received telepathic communication from one non-human at a crash site in the Roswell region in 1949, not the 1947 July crashes. Walking around that 1949 site, the Air Force captain clearly received mind-to-mind telepathic communication from an Eben that looked like a dead body amid the debris. The captain said inside his head, he could hear crying and felt pain coming from the Eben body on the ground. Realizing there was a live creature communicating telepathically to the captain, higher authorities officially assigned the captain to live with the entity called EBA-1 at the Los Alamos laboratory in New Mexico until EBA-1 died of unknown causes on June 18, 1952. That Air Force captain who lived with EBA-1 said the ET told him that reincarnation, the recycling of souls, is the machinery of the universe. The captain also said that one of the most important telepathic transmissions that he ever received was, quote, "We made you. We put you here on Earth, but you have to live it," close quote. When I asked my Washington source what he thought that meant, he told me, quote, "Linda, the key to everything is ET creation of human ET hybrid body containers in which alien life force and consciousness can be placed." But he did not understand the big agenda. Abductee Linda Porter told me when the praying mantis and the Eben-type beings were showing her the light tube cloning resurrection technology, that she understood it was vital to keep some soul entities in human body containers for specific lengths of time. But it does not explain why Homo sapiens sapien must be used to make hybrid body containers to perpetuate alien life force. This is my third book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 2, High Strangeness, that was first released in 1998. Not long after the publication, one night in Philadelphia where I was living, I answered my ringing phone. The deep male voice on the other end spoke without introducing himself. He said, quote, "I thought you should know that your new book has stirred up a hornet's nest at MJ-12 in Washington. Congratulations." and then the deep voice hung up. Since the early 1980s, after the TV broadcast of my documentary special Strange Harvest, I have received valuable insights from 2 different government agency men willing to hear my questions about the alien presence on Earth and why that alien presence seems so focused on genetic harvests from humans and animals. One man was retired in Washington, D.C. The other continued assignments in the Southwest. Both said they had done work for the highly secret MJ-12 group. They both emphasized the gray-skinned Eben types with the pear-shaped heads and almond-shaped dark brown eyes are different from the smaller, thinner grays with triangular faces and large black slanted eyes. The men thought that the Ebens are our allies, but they did not trust the pointed-chin grays, quote, who lie to us, close quote. That was a warning. The whistleblower explanations of prime intelligences that make biological androids and hybrids help explain the great confusion since the 1960s, when human abductees have described so many different types of beings, ranging from insects to tall, pale humanoids that have blonde or black or red hair, while other alien beings are described as standing up humanoid alligators or lizards, referred to as reptoids. Government insiders say the various types of hybrids and androids are designed for various planetary tasks on our planet and throughout the solar system, and even beyond the Milky Way to other galaxies. Both men have periodically given me information over the years, which I have no way to prove, but I offer now in the context of other military and intelligence voices who know about Earth's alien presence. To honor their requests for anonymity, I combined their information into one voice that I call Sherman in my 3rd book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 2, High Strangeness. Sherman said it was true that MJ-12 was established by one of President Harry S. Truman's executive orders in 1947. MJ-12's charter, he said, was to study the UFO phenomenon, to oversee retrievals of crash disks and alien bodies, to back-engineer extraterrestrial technology, and to study captured alien beings. MJ-12, he said, was also directed to keep the public and the media ignorant of the extraterrestrial presence at all costs, to prevent public panic, and to keep the aliens' advanced technologies hidden from Cold War enemies in the interests of national security. Sherman said that in the 1990s, MJ-12 had changed to a different letter number code that began E as in Edward 2. I asked Sherman if he had personally seen non-human technology in his work for MJ-12. He said he had held an Eben device called the Yellow Book that was a technology like the modern iPad. Words on its screen glow yellow, and 3-dimensional images can rise up like the Princess Leia hologram communicator in Star Wars. Sherman said those 3-dimensional images in the Yellow Book come from the Eben's ability to, quote, capture time and play it back, close quote. And he emphasized for me, I'm not talking about videos, I'm not talking about film, I'm not talking about photographs. I'm talking about literally capturing time and playing it back. The Ebens, he said, access and manipulate time streams and even have most of Earth's planetary evolution preserved in a Yellow Book technology. Sherman thought that the Ebens monitor the consequences of their genetic manipulations on Earth over very long time scales for whatever the big agenda of the Ebens is on this Earth laboratory. Sherman said that he had been told that the Ebens experimented genetically in Bhutan, Tibet, and Nepal, and then transplanted some of those altered human ET hybrids to what we call the Yucatan and Guatemala region of Central America. Sherman said the Ebens used DNA harvested and manipulated from Bhutan for another Eben genetic experiment far away to the other side of the world from the Himalayas. Then, in 850 AD, Sherman said the Ebens beamed up most of the Mayan ET human hybrids and transported them to another planet for unknown reasons. I asked Sherman, then is it true that the Ebens and maybe other extraterrestrial groups, such as the Anunnaki, did manipulate DNA in already evolving primates to create Homo sapien, as I was shown in that briefing paper at Kirtland Air Force Base on April 9, 1983?
Yes, but it's a difficult subject. The Ebens have been here since at least the time of the dinosaurs. And according to a report I read, the Ebens collected one of each species of dinosaur and placed them either in one big planetary zoo or in a different planet. And that was at least 68 million or more years ago. So I guess they've experimented with life forms here ever since.
And I said, well, what about the animal mutilations?
The animal mutilations are performed by the aliens. We allowed them to conduct experiments using animals, not just cattle. I don't know if you're aware or not, but there were a lot of moose and caribou found mysteriously dead in the Arctic and Alaska. We think it was part of the Eben experimentation, but we couldn't figure out what happened. The Ebens wanted to conduct experiments, so our government thought it was better to agree to animals instead of humans. To complicate matters, in order to cover up the animal mutilations, our government launched a military program to test certain biological drugs on animals. This was to cover up the alien mutilation program.
I asked, do the Ebens themselves enter pastures and cut the tissues from animals in mutilations?
After we had more communications with the Ebens, they explained to us, you have to understand that for an advanced civilization, you have robots and androids to do these things.
And Sherman said MJ-12 began to understand that the Eben androids could be anything.
The androids can be configured any way the Ebens want for whatever mission the Ebens want carried out. The Ebens are controlling the big part of the operation concerning Earth, and we can't control everything they do. But I can tell you that the Ebens are big environmentalists, huge. They would make the Sierra Club look like brownie scouts. They were so worried about our nuclear tests and nuclear materials being exploded and contaminating not only the Earth, but damaging other dimensions of this universe.
And I said, do you mean, Sherman, that our atomic bombs impacted other life forms or even other dimensions?
Right. So that's one of the things the Ebens were very vocal about, how they wanted above-ground atomic test stop. And boy, were they stopped.
Well, from your point of view, are Ebens the only non-humans that have experimented genetically on this planet?
All I know is that the Ebens started an experiment, but they could not keep out other space travelers. Word got out that this planet was a strange place to visit, and that different experiments were not going the way the Ebens wanted. Part of the Ebens' problem might be because there are bad guys doing experiments too that might harm us. That really confuses matters when it comes to telling who wants to help humans and who doesn't.
And I said, well, in abduction reports, people describe creatures that look like praying mantis insects. What are those?
As far as I've heard, they could be very advanced androids, which can oversee long-term projects that last for thousands, maybe even millions of years. But I'm not certain who they work with or for.
I ask, what is the relationship between the pointed chin grays and the Ebens? And Sherman said,
they were enemies at one time. They were supposed to live without war today, but the Ebens have no control over the Greys. The Greys do their thing and the Ebens do theirs.
Well, is there a pecking order among the alien types?
To the best of our knowledge, no cooperation exists between the different alien groups. And I think there was a war about 6,000 years ago between the Ebens and the Blondes over territorial rights to a planet somewhere. I don't know if the Eben and the Blonde war was here on Earth, or at the Zeta Reticuli, or what.
So, I said both groups, the Ebens and the blonde humanoids, are making android creatures to do work for them on different planets?
That's what I understand. Androids come in many different types. Insects, reptilians, greys, humanoid, blondes, men in black, and others. All have an advanced implanted brain that can operate on its own, or by remote control. Ironically, we think some of these genetically engineered creatures have a higher intelligence than their creators. The Ebens and the blonde humanoids know how to mix and match genomes and DNA easily. They can make robots and androids that can be anything they want them to be. Remember that aliens are millions of years advanced beyond us.
Sherman said the Ebens even make blonde-looking containers that the Ebens control, while the blondes make Eben-looking container bodies that the blondes control. Think of a multi-layered chess game in which you need technology to tell you who the players really are beneath their body camouflage. And I said, well, the Eben's genetic experimentation in Tibet, does that connect somehow to the Dalai Lama? I'm thinking about reincarnation through different beings and different cycles of life. Would that concept relate to an Eben supposedly telling an Air Force captain in 1949 that recycling of souls is the machinery of this universe? And to my surprise, Sherman said,
Exactly. There are only so many souls that can just continuously recycle.
through life form bodies that are containers?
Right, exactly.
Well, Sherman, if there are more container bodies than souls, what happens?
I don't know. But souls are interconnected in some way. I think they told us because the Ebens have been around so long, they've learned that there are only so many souls in the universe which must be recycled. That implies a multiverse of many universes.
Well, Sherman, if there is a finite number of souls in this universe, and the Ebens know that, why are we living on a planet in which there is a steady exponential increase in the number of bodies? Does that imply that not all bodies can have souls?
I guess you have a point there.
And I said, well, and if not all body containers have souls, would the Ebens and blonde humanoids have some stake invested in souls? Like souls could be the coin of the realm, so to speak.
That's possible, I guess. I never thought of it that way before.
And I said, well, some abductee researchers, such as Dr. Leo Sprinkle, who's the Wyoming psychologist, and Harvard University psychiatrist Dr. John Mack, they reported what appears to be the same Ebens, or maybe other gray types, involved from human life to human life. The same alien being comes up in past life regressions at births and at deaths.
I don't know. All I do know is that the soul, when the body container dies, the soul keeps some thoughts or something from that life that was just lived. It's said in the Yellow Book that the Ebens are concerned about human souls if our particular species continued on this course. They are afraid we would damage our container bodies, and that could damage the souls. I realize the containers are the human bodies, and that was why they were so concerned with what we have been doing. The wars and so forth. They are afraid that the souls will be damaged by our containers. One of the MJ-12 guys, who had seen more of the Yellow Book, talked to me about an analogy. He said that when you put something in a container and you pour it out, there's always some residue that remains. Something remains in that soul. So when you pass the soul on in different containers, it picks up the residues of all the different containers it has been in, and a little of each remains and stays throughout. I guess there's an eternity. There's no end. I asked him, does the soul wear out after so many recycles? And he said, No, the souls never wear out. The Supreme Being makes sure that doesn't happen.
While reviewing these pages of Glimpses of Other Realities, a research colleague and attorney, Michael Pill of Shutesbury, Massachusetts, wrote to me, quote, "The notion of the soul picking up residues may explain why we have memories of past lives. It may also explain why after spending thousands of years, and who knows how many wretched lifetimes, trying to work out the karma from one or more evil incarnations, one can still feel the enticing charm of the dark side. Those 7 deadly sins are like predators. They've got you before you realize they are even there. The Ebens say that everything that occurs in our time span has occurred before. I guess it means we're right in the middle of a huge big circle, and it goes round and round. And the way I see this is that Earth was created, and one day, 5 billion years from now, the sun is going to expand, and Earth will be engulfed and destroyed, and everything goes back into a big bang, and then everything starts over again. I ask, well, when the Yellow Book talked about the Supreme Being that created the universe, did it say anything about parallel dimensions or parallel timelines or anything else like that? And Sherman said, no, nothing. The aliens talked about the vastness of the universe, that there are life forms all over, Linda. It talks about a supreme being creating the souls and creating the containers and distributing the souls to the containers. To the Ebens, it's just basic facts. I asked Sherman, if the Ebens made us and put us here, there has to be a reason. Are we a garden growing containers for souls to be harvested for some reason? And Sherman answered, it's another good question. All I can tell you is that when I asked one elderly man with MJ12 about souls and why the Ebens made us, he said, you don't want to know that. Sherman also told me that our universe is one of billions, like grains of sand on an island. But the island, he said, is surrounded by a cold, dark sea. And when I asked what is in the cold, dark sea, he used the elderly MJ12 man's same answer about souls. You don't want to know that. Sherman, some abductees also say that the main reason for the animal mutilations and human abductions has to do with the creation of a hybrid species. But no one knows whether the hybrids are supposed to replace the current Homo sapien container model. There is a sense that whatever the non-humans are up to, it has something to do with survival, theirs and ours. Sherman said, maybe. All I know is that the Ebens are supposed to have manipulated DNA in primates long before humans were created. So there must have been a series of experiments like Neanderthal before Cro-Magnon, and Neanderthal's gone, so who knows what's on the agenda for humans? You can read more about my discussions with Sherman in my book, Glimpses of Other Realities, Volume 2, High Strangeness. Centuries of genetic manipulation by other intelligences was reinforced for me in 1999 by a retired Defense Intelligence Agency analyst. He said his job had been to monitor, quote, the geopolitical territorial conflicts of 3 competing extraterrestrial factions or species, close quote. The DIA analyst said, alien presences have based themselves in various parts of Earth and our solar system, and at least one type has been terraforming this planet and genetically manipulating Earth life for some 270 million years. As Sherman had told me earlier, the DIA analyst emphasized that non-humans made the dinosaurs. He suspected the aliens either allowed or caused the large meteorite to hit the Gulf of Mexico 66 million years ago in order to deliberately erase their dinosaur experiment. What came next on Earth was the rise of mammals that led to primates and to us humans. The DIA analyst was especially interested in the resurrection technology described by abductees Linda Porter and others in my 2-volume book, Glimpses of Other Realities. He knew about the cloning technology from his DIA work, and he described how concerned he and his superiors were about human body containers camouflaging the conflicts of an alien presence through the often chaotic evolution of Homo sapiens sapien. Who are we really? Does someone else own or battle to keep ownership of Earth? Are humans unwitting pawns in a multi-level cosmic chess game? If so, is there an alien ally, a Prometheus or Enki trying to help us advance more rapidly in order to survive, as Army Sergeant CJ said in the beginning of these Truth Hunter reports? Is there truly some kind of alien threat? Like, what happens if a Zeus or Osiris or Jehovah returns? A remote viewer who worked in the mid-1980s for the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency at Fort Meade, Maryland, has some extraordinary insights about friendly and unfriendly non-humans that I'll be sharing on the next Truth Hunter. This is Linda Moulton Howe. Please stay tuned to my Gaia series for more revelations about our universe, this solar system, and the planet we live on.
Oh, you're not supposed to be playing
Abundant
games.
Earth life. We're currently experiencing the worst period of die-offs
Alright, CC die. CC die. Holy. Get it.
In part 2 of this Truth Hunter series about alien symbols on craft and telepathic communication in binary code to humans from non-humans, we met U.S. Army Sergeant CJ. On June 30th, 2015, he and his family were stopped on a road near Wadley, Georgia. In front of them was a huge disc-shaped craft. Sergeant CJ estimated it to be 820 feet long. Symbols at the craft's midsection were similar to other symbols seen by U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant James Peniston on a black glassy triangle in Rendlesham Forest at RAF Bentwaters Woodbridge, England in December 1980. The same triangle with circles patterns was also reported in 1803 on a disc that emerged from the ocean in Japan. After encounters with UFO symbols, both Air Force Sergeant Peniston and Army Sergeant CJ experienced downloads of zeros and ones into their minds. Both described seeing the numbers moving right to left in their mind's eye as if on a screen. Sergeant Peniston said he consciously copied binary code from his mind onto pages in his flight notebook. At first, Sergeant CJ was shocked to wake up in a Motel 6 bathroom, staring at the back of his letter-size motel receipt covered with squares and ones. He knew nothing about binary code, and he did not have any idea what the squares and the ones were, or how he got from asleep in bed to standing at the bathroom door with a ballpoint pen in one hand and the paper covered with squares and ones in the other hand. After his shock, Sergeant CJ remembered he had been having a vivid dream before he woke up in the bathroom. In the dream, there were tall, pale, gray non-humans wearing dark lenses over eyes that Sergeant CJ said were similar to human eyes, but larger. One being even took off one of his dark lenses, and there was a crystal blue eye underneath. Sergeant CJ learned telepathically that these beings described themselves as being from a cosmic council of 5, like the Star Trek Federation. Sergeant CJ heard thought voices in his head warn that Earth humans could be in danger, that the gray beings from the Council of 5 were on a mission to more rapidly advance human knowledge and technology so that humans would not be so vulnerable to attack. Sergeant CJ told me in an interview that the Council of 5 non-humans were, quote, doing what they can to try to help us. They are almost to the point where they are outnumbered, and we're going to need to assist in order to survive, close quote. When I had Sergeant CJ's squares and ones translated with ASCII 8-bit binary code, there was a warning, quote, imminent threat soon upon Earth's leaders and civilizations. Expose and disband hidden knowledge to all citizens. Employ safe and controlled joint study to all minds. Progression imperative for combined survival, close quote. By February of 2016, Army Sergeant CJ had written down 5 new lines of binary code that turned out to be 3 Akkadian and 2 Sumerian ancient words that roughly translate as Nabu, an important Sumerian lord, on a horse or in a chariot going from or to the city of Larsa in southern Mesopotamia, today's Iraq, returning to Earth. On May 25th, 2016, Sergeant CJ sent me an email that began, quote, woke up to go to work. When I walked out to my truck, I saw 3 white oval-shaped orbs in the sky above me close by. I ran back to grab my iPhone to take a picture, but my phone would not zoom in. I don't know why the phone wouldn't work. 2 weeks later, on June 8th, 2016, Sergeant CJ woke up to write down 4 1/2 lines of more squares and ones in his notebook that he keeps by his bed. At the end of those lines, he also wrote, could not keep up. He says when the squares and ones are running in his mind's eye from right to left, that he has to focus very hard to keep them clear so he can copy them down before they are gone. Here is the ASCII 8-bit code translation of those June 8th lines. Your creator is DISPLE capital X, this is in the ASCII code, followed by unknown, and the letter Y, and another unknown, meaning the zeros and ones. That DISPLEX could have meant displeased. 3 weeks after that, on June 19th, Sergeant CJ sent another email. Came into work early to receive first flight of soldiers coming back from Poland training. I was standing out in the field after I sent the soldiers to pick up bags when I spotted an odd anomaly in the distant sky. It came closer, and I took a couple of pictures running back to my truck for protection. Then I was startled that the light was suddenly right over my head, and then almost immediately after that, 2 Black Hawk-type helicopters came in fast, pursuing whatever the light was. That same night of June 19, 2016, Sergeant CJ was receiving more binary code, but was only able to write down a few squares and lines, but wrote in his notebook that he could not stay focused. I was able to get the squares and lines translated, and there was one perfectly spelled word: arrogant. Here are the squares and ones Sergeant CJ also wrote down in his notebook, the same time as the dream. And below is the binary translation: belief, as the word belief, followed by capital Q, LLOW, the word all, space, 31, space, 77745. Sergeant CJ said he could not stay alert to keep up with the moving squares and lines, which could explain why the second word is QLLOW instead of ALLOW, which would be allow. And what is interesting, there is only one number difference in ASCII code between capital Q and capital A. Q is 0101 space 0001. A is 0100 space 0001. This may be an example of a human mind that is in a link with a non-human intelligence that knows that some people can take binary code in zeros and ones into their minds and at least be able to retain it long enough to write it down, if not always completely accurately. All of the new binary code might relate to a vivid dream that both Sergeant CJ and his wife told me they had at the same time on the night of March 6, 2016.
I dreamt that I was on the ground near houses, and I recall seeing a bunch of people running away from something. I saw them looking up in the sky, so I looked up as well, and I saw an oval shape. I remember a light coming down, and I tried to run from it, and then I was immersed in it.
What is this beam like?
It was a bright white with blue inside it. I felt completely numb and paralyzed, couldn't move. And then at that moment, I was no longer there. And I remember there were different humanoid species.
Not human.
Not human. Well, besides one. The one that looked human was a male, late 40s, early 50s. And everyone referred to him as Colonel. He looked like an American to me. Slight receding hairline, light brown hair, brown eyes. Was wearing a dark blue jumpsuit, no patches, similar to what astronauts would wear on the space station. Dark navy blue jumpsuit with no identification or patches on the jumpsuit. There was a small gray alien in the room. There was a tall gray.
Was the tall gray like those back on June 30th when you wrote the binary code?
Yes, they appeared to be the same. There was a tall, human-looking, blonde hair species in that room, but I never got the impression that it was a human at all. It was a few inches taller than me, and I'm 6'1". There was a short female that also looked human, but not. She was about 4 feet tall. A characteristic I noticed, and that was a raised dark spot between her eyes, above her eyebrows. It looked like a swollen spot that was blue in color. Another one kind of looked like an Incredible Hulk, but not quite that big. Strong jaw, very rugged-looking head, broad shoulders.
You're describing a scene of some sort of collaboration between a U.S. government person and extraterrestrials. Why have the non-humans lifted you up in a beam and put you in a room with an American colonel who is immediately enraged?
Yes, this colonel was very angry. They chose me to be there. He didn't feel that I needed to be there. He was upset that I was even there. He actually mentioned that I needed to be extinguished, which pissed me off. And I began yelling at him. I was hearing the tall gray talking in whatever language it was talking, but I was hearing it through telepathic. I could hear in my head everyone was saying in clear English, but none of them were moving their mouths. They told the colonel that the reason I was there was because I'm not influenced by others making decisions for me. They mentioned that the colonel's group he works for has been infiltrated and are being arrogant.
That group is being too arrogant to realize that they are blinding the American government from something important?
Perhaps.
Trying to do something that the aliens don't want?
It could be. My impression is that the non-humans need us to come clean with what's going on, get everybody out of the dark.
One of the most important parts of your notes about the March 6, 2016 event, quoting, the colonel was still angry, and the aliens told